right. How we doing? We're back. I know, took a little bit of a break, but we're setting up, and we are here with our first interview. I'm here with Kyle, owner of Wapiti Fit. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course, man, of course. So when I heard what you were doing, I mean, we were talking a little bit about it during my stream with Vixxen. If you want to go check that out, that's on YouTube. Um, but we were talking for a good like hour, I think it was, just kind of off the cuff, and I was like, man, this is a little bit of a gold mine, right? But tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what you do.
Well, I call myself an outdoor guide and fitness trainer. Uh, Kind of unofficial way of putting it, where people don't just necessarily jump on you for being a hunting guide. But essentially, what it is I help people that want to become self-reliant as far as the we've all seen it during COVID, where everybody was, worried about food shortages and all those things, right? Well, if you're self-reliant, you can actually go out in the wilderness and do that for yourself. So people that are interested in that will pay me for my year-round service. So what I do essentially is a big part of hunting that people don't realize is you don't just get in a truck and you drive down the road and kill an animal. That's not how it works. Animals are very smart, and they realize that it's that time of year and they hide. They know that it's coming. You know what I mean? Like they don't know
Really?
that.
So animals like they know when hunting season is basically,
Absolutely.
huh?
They will. You can. Yeah. I mean, they have this horrible portrayal of hunters in movies where they're just like these hick rednecks that get drunk and blast off firearms. I'm actually a bow hunter personally. I have bow hunted for the last 15 years of my life, and I was shooting archery before that, but I was a rifle hunter before that. I never hunted animals before 15 years ago.
Is that a
It was a
compound bow
bow.
or a crossbow?
Compound.
Compound.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know nothing about bows except for compound or cross.
Dude,
Um,
it's a deep hole, and I will gladly take you down that road.
well, so is there any benefit to shooting with a crossbow or yeah, any bow versus a gun?
Personally, I don't like a lot of noise.
Mm,
As a veteran, I just don't like big bangs.
okay.
I just feel like, as I was trained by the military to shoot a weapon, so I feel like it takes the fun out of it for me. If that makes any sense. Like, not fun. It's not like fun to kill animals, but it's a very, very difficult task. It's not just, like I said, it's not just driving down the road and seeing an animal and shooting it. You have to literally scout these animals out. You have to figure out where they live, where they're going to be at when it's time to be there. You have to.
Well, and if you're not having fun doing something, you're probably not going to do it well, you know.
Right, right. Oh, and it's miserable. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's
Mm.
fun and miserable. I really enjoy doing things.
So, like, let's
So
get a
it
little bit into how you kind of started with this work. Like, where did you
okay.
start?
So it started as a family business.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad and my uncles and it was a family business. So I'm actually from a ranching family,
Okay.
and as part of that, they have a large ranch in New Mexico. I'm not going to talk about them.
No, you're all
I don't
good.
want to bring their names into it. It's nothing personal. I hope you don't feel offended. I just don't
No,
want them.
no, you're all good.
I, it's a weird relationship, to say the least, and that I'll get into that why I branched out. But so my family, like I said, my dad, my uncles have all been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah, so you
So
guys
I
been
would
hunting for
literally,
a while.
oh yeah, all my life. My earliest memories are wanting to be a right. Like, all my family had rifles and they were hunting deer and elk, and I couldn't do it yet. I was too little. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Oh yeah.
Like, I yearned for the what's the word? Inclusion into the group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all my older cousins were hunting and I was still not hunting. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lifestyle all my life.
So even before
Um,
the military, you were like used to shooting guns and sort of you were already in shape because you were kind of hiking and in the wilderness
right.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So part of it was I wasn't allowed to be a guide, right? Because you have to be 18 to be a guide in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do all the scouting,
Mm.
right? I was pretty much a pack bitch for my earlier years, which is normal. Like, I don't care who you are, you have to start at the ground and you got
And
to work your way up, right?
and so when you say
So
pack bitch, you would go out and you were talking about it before, right? You would scout out and drop off like equipment and that kind of thing.
Right. I would do equipment drops. I would cache equipment in the area where we're gonna hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So like you, especially on a large hunting camp, you want to have supply. If you're gonna be extended period, like I bivvy hunt a lot, so you're gonna go into this area for 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days of equipment is about 120 pounds, and we're talking anywhere from a 2,000
No, you're
feet
good.
in elevation gain. I'm
Uh,
sorry, 2,000 feet to 4,000 feet in elevation gain. I'm a little
oof.
bit nervous, so I'm
No,
just
you're
trying to.
good.
Um, so 2 to 4,000 feet. I mean, you can go extreme, but over a period of a couple hours, you're going to gain 2 to 4,000 feet. So you're not going to want to carry. I like to go in about 45 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have to drop a shitload of stuff off before that. Like I'm talking, jerry cans full of water,
Mm.
um, extra rations, So like freeze dry food. Like I don't really like doing that freeze dried stuff. It's extremely expensive. So I
Yeah.
have a different method where it's just like rice and beans, and you can like sit there and you heat that up on the mountain, right? Powdered eggs, stuff like the affordable stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, especially if you look into that industry, there's a lot of money in that stuff. You're talking $12 a meal. That's a lot of damn money when you really sit there and look at it.
Yeah. No. I mean, the
Yeah,
idea is to, especially if you're going out, doing something extra. Well, I mean, if you're hunting, it's sort of like you're doing the guys that kind of hunt. I mean, you would think the guys that kind of hunt do it on their off time, right? So it's kind of like their vacation
right,
time,
right,
I guess. Um,
exactly.
so that's
And you
more
do it
what
on
you.
weekends and any
Yeah.
extra time, after work, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do during my earlier years. So, and I have this method I was talking about, freeze dried food. I'll get dry ice and I'll put frozen food. Like I'll have, the wife will make beans,
Mm,
like make like Texas style beans,
mm,
and they'll be like Tex-Mex,
okay.
and we'll put them in. We'll vacuum seal them, and we'll have like 15 or 20 of them because
Mm,
that's pretty much a great meal on the high energy. And then we have like Uncle Ben's rice, the instant, the microwavable stuff, all
yeah.
that stuff. So we'll put that in a like a ice chest, and we'll cover it in like fallen trees and like debris, right? So they can't see it, but it's got like all that frozen stuff is on dry ice, and it's sitting there, and it can sit there for 5 days if it's a
Damn.
good cooler.
Yeah.
So you can go in, a week before hunting season, be quiet, go in there, put your stuff in there, bury it, and then come back to it, when on opening day.
And so you're coming in here, and this is when you're under 18 because you can't be a guide. So you're coming in
Right,
here alone when you're like 16, 17, and then you're hiking
right.
out 20. What? How many miles would you say you would go out scouting
Well,
when you're dropping
it's
off
not
equipment?
all of it. So essentially, how you effective scouting is where
Mm,
you do glass from the truck sometimes,
mm,
so to like see animals, and if you see an animal far off, and I'm talking 4 or 5 miles in,
okay.
you're using binoculars and spotting scopes, which are high resolution optics. So you could see, and it's on the mountain. You see an elk on the mountain. So you're like, okay, we know there's elk there. Let's go check it out. And that's essentially where scouting starts. You park the truck and you walk in 5 miles, see where that area is, how much sign's in it, all that stuff.
Yeah. So how many elk would you need to say you see before you would know if the area was good to go to or not?
You base it on fresh sign too, but I would say, I mean, there's always just a one. I mean, you could
Mm,
always see one elk and then come up there, and on the other side of the ridge there could be a whole herd, right? There
yeah.
could be 40 elk on the other side of the hill. Could be 100 elk on the other side of the hill. So it just depends. The area, it all depends on the area. There's so much variation in the area. But growing up, we had this pivot, and this pivot had 200 plus head of elk in it every morning,
Mm.
all the time. But as soon as as soon as the sun rose and it started to get warm, they would be gone, right? And once they're gone, they're gone. You know,
So you get out, right, and And like, let's say that there's a way for you to like spot the elk without actually seeing them, right? So you were saying that there were signs of them without actually seeing
Right.
them.
Like, yeah, like, their poop. Let's call it scat, and then
Yeah.
like their hoof prints. Snow is amazing
Mm.
if you're
I
wanting fresh sign.
I could assume.
Right. Snow is amazing for fresh sign, right? Because human walks through it, you can see, okay, somebody's been here, right? It's obvious. Snow is an amazing teller. If the snow is just butchered, that's a pretty good sized herd of elk, most
Oh,
likely.
okay.
And they run in a line. They're like ducks. They run pretty much straight in a line. They
Okay.
don't run, but they will trail like a cow.
Okay. And so,
And that's another thing. They also look at cow trails. So they're gonna beat. They're not little animals. We're talking. They're 8 to 1,200 pounds. So they're gonna freaking beat the hell out of the ground. You're gonna know they're there.
and they're herd
If you
animals, right?
Right, right. They don't leave you know areas untouched.
When you all right, so going back to a little bit about like what you do, right? It's more about just the hunting aspect of it, right? It's about more training the person for survival, because the kind of hunting that you do is sort of like you can only do after you get to a certain level of being able to just exist in the woods, or
Right.
right?
It's called bivouac hunting. It's just backpack hunting.
And
So there's a lot of amazing backpackers out there that know the
mhm.
exact same skills, right? So it's kind of an equipment thing. You can bare bones it, like you can have a flint and a knife, and your backpack and your I think your metal
So there's
cup
really a
and all
way
that
for you
crap.
to just go out with just the bare minimum, like not even water, and
Right. Well, you have different ways of purifying water now. There's so many ways of purifying water. You can buy a filter on Amazon right now for $20 that'll purify the nastiest shit you've seen. You can walk to your river right now and get water
well, when I would,
with a
I
straw.
had a very
Right.
small, I was in like a school program where we went camping and hiking and stuff like that, and I've always kind of been a fan of the wilderness, but the right way, because you can definitely do the wilderness the wrong way, and in doing so, you can endanger yourself, destroy nature,
Right.
and you can even get people who are then going to be tasked to rescue you. You can even get them hurt, depending on
Right.
what you've done.
Absolutely.
So,
For the
I,
most part, rolling boil is you
mhm,
can't really, as long as you can get it boiling.
then you're good.
Right.
So it's
That's
usually you
the
just
big one.
filter it out as
But
good as you can with a shirt or something, and then boil it out, and then you're
right.
you're fine. I was always wondering
And
about boiling water.
well,
It's just,
I never go to like a puddle. I would never get water from a
oh no,
puddle.
it's
I would
running
like
water. It's always
running
running
water,
water.
right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's running, obviously, and then after that you boil it. So like a
Mm,
stream
mm,
would be, you don't want to go to a lake, obviously, but like a running stream
yeah.
or a waterfall would be more than sufficient to boil it. You don't just drink it. Like I know people are like, "Oh, you can drink it." No, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't want no chances.
No, no,
you know,
no, no, no.
99.9% chance is the chance when you boil it. So,
So, guys who go out, like, so you've been doing this for a while. Have you noticed sort of a difference between, the newer guys that are doing this and the older guys in terms of like techniques that they use, and seeing it, which do you think is more effective, right?
definitely probably the equipment's definitely nicer than when I started.
Mm-hmm.
So, packs are lighter,
Mm-hmm.
boots are lighter, clothes are made better,
Mm-hmm.
layering systems. Okay, so there's this, it's called the Equic system in the military, and there's a brand named Sitka, right? It's a huge, huge company in the hunting industry for camo. And they've taken that military layering system and put it into a clothing system. And they've modified it and made it better, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not cheap, but they definitely make some amazing clothing and then other companies have replicated it, but they make an amazing layering system. And that's a big thing about the survival part is you need to layer, right? You don't get out of your backpack and put your sleeping bag and get your heaviest jacket on right off the rip. You kind of sit there you sleep damn near naked. I'm not gonna lie, you sleep in like your underwear,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
And then
pretty
when you
much.
get out of when it's cold, you get out and then you put one layer on. And then if they're still cold after 15 minutes of moving around, you put another layer on, right? That way you have plenty enough, and it's loose layers. You don't want tight layers. But that way you can utilize your equipment and you're not sweating, because sweat's bad, right? You don't want to get wet.
Well, yeah, sweat gets you wet, and then that gets you colder.
Yep, exactly. So you want to stay in that temperature range where if you throw that heaviest shit on, if you throw all your snivel on, that's what I call it, and that's what it's a military term. But snivel gear, which is all your warm stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then you're gonna sweat, and then you're gonna be in danger.
So, do you see like a lot of well, when I was saying more about the new school and the old school, of course equipment is gonna, like if you have a better equipment, you're gonna get better results. I mean more towards technique, like hunting technique, survival technique. Are there like things that not so new guys do, like the OG guys, that they kind of know to do and sort of like have a habit of doing, and then on the other hand, are there things that like a lot of newer guys aren't doing or sort of doing differently than like the guys,
Well, so like my dad and my grandpa, they were
Mhm.
traditional hunters, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that like I'm not trying to offend you, but like back in the day, there was no trail cameras.
Mm.
Like trail cameras have been around forever, but I mean in public usage all the time. Like those men, not just them, but that generation knew how to, like I said, look for the signs of animals in the area, and
Mhm.
you would actually they would pattern. Okay, so elk are pattern animals, so they go in a circle, right? It's not like a literal circle, but it's like a 20-mile radius, and they work that circle constantly. So you'll see that if you run a trail camera, you'll see that. So they'll let's make an example. So September 1st, you see a herd of elk
Mhm.
on your trail camera, right? In 10 to 14 days, you'll see that same herd in that same spot. They circle. You get what I'm
Wow.
saying?
But
So they
the
pattern.
circle is
Like I said, that's
thousands
what
of
I'm talking
miles
about
though.
patterning. So you want to. So the more you can pattern them and know where they're at in that circle,
Mhm.
and find them again. Like that's why trail cameras are so effective, because you can put one and know, okay, they're here, and then you put another trail camera. Okay, I think they might be over here. So you're going to put one there, and if they show up, then you can say, okay, you can shorten the gap, right? So that's one of the things that the old guys did just by spending time in the woods. They didn't have the technology to know how to do that,
They would just know and
or
kind of by
to
seeing the
pinpoint it. Like you can
signs.
literally put a date on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So
And you
like
can
on
see them like on camera, on video. They ship it. They send it to the or it gets saved in the memory card, and you can go back and say, okay,
right.
on this
So
specific
you
day.
see, okay, so on day 1 of their cycle they're here. On day 20 they're here as well.
Mm.
So then if you move another trail camera, you have, okay, in 5 days time they're here.
And so you can easily
Right.
track where they're going and know exactly where they're going before
Yeah.
they
I
get
mean, this
there.
sounds bad. Like I don't like it's not. There's so much work to this. You have
Mm.
so much fuel. You have so much time going into this. You have to find the animals first,
Yeah.
and then trail cameras are pretty much not being utilized that much anymore,
Mm.
just because they have like kind of a stink, just based on like what I just said, where people think that they're
Like cheat mode.
unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheat mode.
Cheat
Right.
mode. Yeah. No, I get it. They're just like hacking. That's what they
Right.
think. It's like easy mode. I understand.
Right.
But
But it's really not. I mean, we're talking. My vehicle a year just for hunting gets
mm,
about 4,000 miles
oof. And
on
those aren't
rough
city
ass
miles.
roads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those aren't
those are
city miles.
rough
Those aren't
ass
paved
roads.
miles.
Right. So we're looking all over the place. We're trying to find, and not just we're not just killing Bambi. It's not the little ones. It's not. You want to find quality animals, and the reason you want to find quality animals is they've been through their life cycle, right?
Hmm.
So you don't want the reason that you don't kill smaller animals, and
Yeah.
there's like they call it trophy hunting. There's a reason it's not trophy hunting, and that is because they've been past their breeding prime, right? So they no longer are. They've repopulated the herd, right? So
Yeah,
they
they've already had their offspring that they're gonna have.
right, right. So
And
then they're in that later stage of life where they're gonna die of elements, like they're gonna freeze to death, they're gonna go hungry, their teeth are falling. I've literally seen a bull with no teeth.
Whoa.
Yeah, like they were there, but they were like, I would say
Gnawing
half
down.
an inch thick.
Oof.
Like, and they come, they're generally about 3 inches when they start. So he was down to nothing. He probably had dental pain.
And so, like, okay, so you get into these animals that you're supposed to kill, okay, so hunting now has been sort of it's been popularized,
Right.
especially
It's
the
very much an
idea,
industry.
yeah,
Right.
especially
No
much
different
the
than the gaming industry. There's money made
Oh yeah, but
every
the
day.
the thing about gaming industry is you can as a man go spend thousands of dollars and then okay, now you have your gaming set up, now you can actually start gaming, right? But it's not that easy to start in doing the thing that you're doing, right? Hunting and you know a lot of people think like, oh, I could just buy a gun, and then just go
Yeah.
out into the woods and see what happens, right? Get a gun, get a hunting license. Have you ever run into like somebody that's been like grossly underprepared for hunting? I mean, it's sort of your job, right? Is to train people
Right.
up.
So that's kind of a funny story. I'm actually trying to branch out my business
Mm,
and grow it into because I have an understanding of the outdoors. So I want to train my guys to also be able to be first responders. So it's called REMT, so remote emergency medical technician. No
mm.
different than an EMT, but they're specialized in remote
Especially as being
settings.
in the wilderness with nobody
Right.
around for
So if
hundreds
they
of
come
miles.
down, if they come and it's a hiker or a hunter, it doesn't matter who it is because the wilderness is for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So if they come across a person that's down on the trail, they can be like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they know the procedures that needs to happen to get that person safely, maybe save a life. You
Hmm.
know,
And
that's what I want.
we're actually going to get into something a little bit later about somebody who unfortunately lost their life going into the wilderness and trying to survive.
Right.
So I guess the idea is if one of your guys would have ran into them, and actually funny, well not funny enough, but like if he would have waited 2 more weeks, or if he would have survived 2 more weeks, actually hunters were kind of in that area. We'll get to that though.
Right.
I'm sort of jumping
So,
ahead a
so
little bit.
essentially, the thing about the wilderness is your backup plan needs a backup plan,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of the biggest things I preach is you have a Garmin, you have your phone.
Mm.
They both have batteries. You need to know how to use a map and compass. You need to know how to use a protractor. You need to You need to have a copy of a modern unit map,
Mm.
and you need to know where you're at, and you need to be tracking that. It's easy when you have a GPS because you can literally just put your GPS and then pin dot it on your map, right?
Mm.
You can pinpoint your location on a map, right? With a GPS. Now, if your battery dies on your GPS, you still have your map and your protractor, right?
And you
So
can
you
just
can
find
still
where that
understand where
is.
you're at in the area if things go shitty, right?
Makes sense.
You're supposed to, you need to be contacting your family. That's one of the biggest things. You need to tell people where you're at.
And so that's
You
like the
can't be a
most
loner.
important thing, right? Is to know exactly where you are and have a way to contact somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely don't encourage novices to. I encourage novices to enjoy the outdoors, but not necessarily go. Don't go on social media, see somebody doing something epic, and then try and do that.
Yeah.
Don't replicate that in your first year. That's just, I knew a guy. One of the guys I looked up to, and his name Roy Roth. He died after 35 years,
Mm.
and he'd hunt in Alaska. He fell to his death hunting the same mountains he'd been hunting for the last 20 years.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of you got to be careful. Like, and even sometimes God just has different plans, but you just gotta watch yourself.
No, of course. It's. I mean, it's one of those things where even if you are like, even if you've been in the same place for 20 years, it's still, that's still nature. That's still the wilderness. There could be an
Right.
animal there. There could be anything there.
Yeah,
Um,
massive respect for the outdoors. That's definitely the one thing. And the thing about hunting is, I
mm,
feel like people see it as oh, I just want to kill things. That's the massive. I guarantee I've seen more grown men cry about killing an animal than you would ever imagine.
oh no, I
It's
can only
very hard to
imagine.
take a life, whether human, animal. It's not something they take lightly. They cherish the meat.
Mm.
It is something that have you ever felt passionate about a Big Mac?
No, never.
Like true passion,
Oh,
like
oh, God, no.
excitement, um, you know, a sense of responsibility.
Well,
There's so much. I can't even describe that.
well, maybe
Like,
passion, but not a sense of responsibility.
right,
But no, I see what you're saying. It's different when you look at the creature that the steak, the hamburger. You look at it where you see what it was before. You see it running around. You know, you see it. And the idea is this thing was completely healthy. This thing would have lived. I mean, it's past breeding age, obviously, but the thing is, it's not necessarily dying until you
right.
let go of that bow. You pull that trigger. But
Yeah.
what do you think what do you think like attracts people to hunting? Like those people who don't necessarily want the thrill to kill, assholes that are just trying to take.
Self-sufficiency, I would
Mm.
say.
So you think a lot of the people that you see are worried that like they're gonna need to go off to the wilderness? It's like honestly, that's that the idea is that's sort of our plan. Like if things go bad, which is a bad plan because we can't survive in the
Right.
wilderness.
And
But
the thing is,
the idea is
a
the
lot of
wilderness is
people
better
think
than
it's going to be
people.
large game, right?
Yeah.
You rabbits and squirrels.
Oof.
How many deer do you see versus rabbits and squirrels?
Yeah.
In real life, we're talking about survival.
Hmm.
You got to think small game. Yeah, and that's one thing. It's just always just be cognizant of what's going on around you and just not tear up stuff.
I've never had
And
rabbit meat before.
it's stringy. It's not the best meat in the world, but it definitely feeds you.
I don't know.
It's like a lot of
How does
people
it
don't like
taste?
goat. I've eaten a lot of different styles of goat.
Ooh. Goat,
Like I've had
lamb, delicious.
ibex. I've had a traditional, like you see in the market, goat. But I can't even name the species.
Do they taste different?
I've eaten at least a couple, 5 different types of goats.
Do they taste
Ibex.
anything
Uh,
like are there like if I were to give you the different steaks all prepared the same, would you be able to taste the difference in the goat meat, or would it just all taste like goat, or would you say this is ibex, this is you know?
it definitely depends. It's more of the region,
Mm,
honestly. So if they're like a high mountain animal,
mm,
because see, like even like you hunt the deficit. This is what I'm going to tell you. So hunt the deficit. So the deficit would be what are the 3 things you have to survive? Everything, every living thing. What are they? What quiz you?
water, food, shelter.
There you go. Exactly. So in the area that you're going to hunt, you're going to hunt the deficit. Is there a lot of water? Is there a lot of food? Is there a lot of shelter? Right? Which is the least abundant? So you hunt the deficit, right? Because
Okay,
they're gonna
explain that a little more. So if there's like let's say you get to an area where there's not a lot of water, then then you find where there is water, and then wait
right
for
and
them
hunt
to
the
go.
deficit. Yes.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah. Okay, I just
Yeah.
explained it to
That
myself.
clicks, right? That's what I tell
There
my
we
guys. I'm like,
go.
what? Guys and gals. I don't just train guys.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, yeah, it's just and it's like hunt the deficit. And they're like, I never would have thought of that. Yeah. Like, think about that.
Yeah, I just
In
explained
some
it to
states it's
myself.
illegal. So like in Arizona you can't hunt water
Oh,
in some areas. In some
okay.
units. It's a lot there's a lot of specialization. You need to know your unit. So if you're thinking about hunting, you really need to contact your game and fish and just everybody thinks cops are bad. Like they think that's a bad guy that's going to catch you. Those guys are so helpful and knowledgeable. I've literally had people like, "Hey man, I'm new to the area. What any suggestions?" "Oh yeah, dude, I've seen 5 big bucks right over there the other day. Right here. Oh, I'll take you there." Like they're nice as hell, dude. They're just everybody, everybody's just people.
I feel like
If
people
you're
only
if you're
don't
polite,
like them if they don't buy their license a lot. Like if they're like, ugh, I have to buy a license because these assholes are out here. But in actuality,
right?
you buying the license is what pays for, like the environment, basically. Like where do
Yeah.
you think all the
Hunch,
money for
yeah.
that stuff comes from? It's like you paying your dues. You know.
Yeah. There
It
is no greater conservationist than a hunter.
yeah.
Hunters put more money into the wilderness than any other
And
entity combined.
that is super interesting because like there was a hey Vixen, see you in the chat there. There was this guy in Africa, right? He owned a huge like game like land, And people would go on there and hunt zebra, whatever, lions, that kind of thing. And he's like, the hunters are paying for the food. They're paying for all like the shelter, the upkeep of this place. Without the hunters, there would not be the animals. So
Right.
it's
Like
like these people
massive
try to
anti-poaching
protest.
efforts are caused by hunters.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't want animals like poachers piss me off.
Hmm.
Like, I'm a legal hunter. I buy my license. I follow my rules and the guidelines, and I truly love. I'm obsessed with these animals. I love these animals.
Oh yeah, no,
I
poaching. I
truly
bet
think
poaching
about them
pisses everybody
daily, and I
off.
try and do my best to be as prepared and proficient with my weapon as I can. That's
Mm,
why I dedicate my life to this 365 days of the year.
mm.
It's not some toy for me or game. Like, it's not some
Yeah, it's
joy.
not some. It's not your
It's my
houby.
passion.
Yeah,
Right. If I
it's
seen
your
somebody
life.
illegally doing something, if somebody like one of the things that pisses me off the most is like if somebody shoots an animal and they're like, I smoked that motherfucker.
Mm,
I will. I go off. I literally go off. Like, why? Like, I'll never hunt with that person again,
mm,
ever. That is a massive disrespect to the animal. I do not do that. That's not. It's okay to be excited that you made a good shot on an animal, and that's what a lot of people see. All these hype videos where people are grinning and stuff. The smile, the grip and grin, is probably the worst thing that we could have done as hunters to celebrate our successful hunts, because
mm.
people see a smile, and that's probably the worst smile. It's like, smile, say cheese, like that shitty smile that you get whenever you have to take school photos. It's
Yeah.
not. It's a nervous excitement. There's so many emotions you're feeling right then. It's not something that's normally. It's not a yeah. It's probably the most sobering thing I've ever done in my life.
Are there like a lot of like those assholes out there that are just like excited about the idea of just taking a life versus like like the only reason why they're out there is because they want to kill something, and they're too pussy to go to the army or they're what I'm saying. Maybe
I feel
they.
like that's probably 1%. I would think. I mean,
So
I'm
it's
sure
not a
there's
lot.
assholes out there. I'm not going to say that there's not assholes out there that are like that, but I'm saying that the majority of them. It's like saying all the gamers are fat and lazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
No, just
you know what I mean?
just
So
because you see
it's a
me.
stereotype. No,
I
no,
hear
no,
you.
dude. That's not what I'm saying. Like, but I'm saying it's a relevant. Um. What am I trying to say? Reference. It's a relevant reference, right?
Yeah.
Something something I know. It's fucked up, and stereotypes and racism are not cool. Like that. Those are things that are one of our biggest problems these days. Is people think certain ways,
Oh, 100%.
and we bunch each other together too much.
Yeah.
There's so many people in the world and so many opinions and mindsets that we can't just say, oh, those people or these people are bad,
Yeah,
right?
it's all our people. It's the
Yeah,
idea.
it's
At least
us. We
it
are.
should be the
Yeah,
idea. But I
that
mean,
is.
if you look at how people are preparing, I guess for Armageddon, it's not necessarily like, okay, we're gonna get everybody in the neighborhood and we're all gonna come together and blah. It's usually like we're gonna get our family and we're gonna go to XYZ, or we're gonna get our family, we're gonna go to the bunker, or we're gonna do this. It's usually we're gonna get together and take care of ourselves, and then everybody else can kind of go fuck themselves, right? If
Right.
at least that's the idea. Like if you ask anybody, who says they're ready for a zombie apocalypse, their answer is usually, "I got a ton of guns, I got a ton of food in a bunker, I have a wife and I have kids. We're gonna go there, and it's done." I mean, it's a joke, but like in the serious note, it would be like, oh, a nuclear, attack or whatever kind of natural disaster, whatever kind of event that would happen that would sort of knock society off of its kilter. A lot of people's response is more to get off and go by themselves versus like come together as a group and
Right.
and be together. Like at least
And
that's from what I see.
I feel like that's a bad idea.
It's
But
it
yeah,
is a bad
I get it.
idea.
It's hard to trust people as well. So
It's a double-edged sword. It's a bad idea to be
yeah,
alone
exactly.
because then you have a group of guys and then it's a wrap. You have one guy with 30 guns versus 30 guys with one gun each. It's not a hard fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
versus if you trust, if you guys have it's have you ever heard the saying, don't do business with three people, or don't do a crime with three people, because two of them are probably going to turn on you. So I got that from Joey Diaz, but that sort
Right.
of
That
stuck with me.
motherfucker's smart as hell. I like that guy.
Joey Diaz has a lot of street smarts, man, and
Yeah.
but yeah, it's it kind of tells you about today. It's like people would rather go off and sort of survive on their own, but
Right.
that's sort of what you teach people to do, right? Is to become self sufficient. How long does that usually take, right? Is it based on a person? And so is it a go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, generally I try and cut out 9 months.
Okay. And so they usually
So
go up. You have
generally
like a
start,
compound or
and maybe this is just no, it's all online.
oh, okay.
Um, it used to be a compound. It's not anymore.
Yeah. It
But
used to be like an in
that
person,
was
well,
that
not
used to be
compound,
the
but like a
right, right.
campus. Let's call it a campus.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Compound
box.
sounds. Compound
It was a
sounds.
box. It was
Yeah.
a
Okay.
gym box. Yeah. So, but now since COVID and all that crap, it's just kind of it's better to do it virtually.
Yeah, for everything moves to virtually since COVID.
Right.
But
It's a lot
ideally,
more.
if
It's less small term. Like you have a vast. I can have somebody who's coming to America from Japan
mm,
who wants to train. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
oh, I like elk. I think that's a beautiful animal. I would
mm,
love to hunt it with you. You know what I mean? I could train them online. Obviously, there would be maybe a language barrier, but it gives you the opportunities. You get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and so they would train online for a certain amount of time, and when it was ready, they could come out in person, and it wouldn't be
Right.
like you're building up from scratch. You would already had like a
Right.
foundation, and
That's the biggest, and this is how it started.
mm,
Is I'll tell you what. So this is it is kind of fucked up how my start got, but I got my start. But when I was a kid, I was helping this guy. So we literally, like I said, I scouted the animal out.
mm,
So essentially, you can do this all by yourself. What I do is I pattern the animals, right? I know where they're at. I've been following them all year round. I know where I know where they're probably gonna be. It's not 100% guaranteed. Nothing is, especially Mother Nature. That bitch is crazy.
yeah,
So, but no hunt's guaranteed. Like we have, 100% is where we shoot for, but we don't necessarily always hit it because it's not easy. Like it's not easy country. It's not easy. If you want an easy hunt, find a different animal to hunt because elk is not your first rodeo. You know what I
no,
mean?
yeah,
So this guy came out. He was super out of shape.
mm,
Uh, bitched the whole time. Like my dad. I'll tell you a little bit about my dad. This is one of the things that resonates with me from my dad, and he's been gone since 2010.
mm,
Is when I was like 7, it had snowed and our water had froze, right? And we're digging up this trench with shovels, and it's freezing ass cold outside, and the ground's solid. And I was bitching the whole time. And he said, "You know what? If you ran that fucking shovel as much as you ran your mouth, we'd be done by now." And I was like, "Damn,
yeah,
he's right." Like, and I just fucking shut up and dug from then on. But like that guy, I'm telling you. So this guy's complaining and complaining and complaining. Finally, get on an elk. We shoot it, or he shoots it. We didn't shoot it. He shot it. I should definitely clarify that.
mm,
I meant we as a team,
yeah,
right? So we get on the elk and we kill him. So this guy can't pick up the pack, so we lower it down. He walks about. We lowered the weight in the pack. We started putting more on our own backs, right?
mm,
And so he ends up getting about 15 pounds of meat in his bag,
mm.
and he's still bitching the whole time. And I'm like, and I turned to my dad. I'm like, we gotta find a way to get these fuckers healthy before we get here, before they get here.
And that's
And
where
he's
the idea came.
yeah, and I'm like, dude, I'm probably like 17, 15, I'm young still.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck. And then so years later, I was like, I'm gonna fucking do that. Yeah.
And so,
So I was lined up to go work in Australia for
oh,
6 months. So then jump a year forward. So my dad's buddy had a guiding business in Australia, right?
yeah,
And we're talking 2007 when this is all going down. And I'm all set to go work with him for 6 months. So the plan is work for him for 6 months and then work. So their seasons are backwards from ours. So
okay,
from January to like June, that's their season. From June, ours starts in September, but early August
Mm-hmm.
mid-August. But um, mid-August to December is kind of our busy season. So we would just cycle, right? So you could work 6 months there, 6 months here, right? And be a full-time job. And then I all of a sudden got this calling to go in the military. And I feel like I was patriotic all my life, but at the same time, I feel like my parents always taught me to be like, if you're not working a 9 to 5, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to do something other than my passion, which was elk hunting and hunting in general. So I was going to hunt in Australia, or I was going to guide out hunts in Australia for 6 months, and then I was going to come home and guide hunts for 6 months here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that I put that in a bag. I'm like, I'll do that later. So then, yeah.
So went to the Army instead, and
went to the Army, got out, did my 9 to 5 for almost a decade, and then I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do this anymore. I hate my life.
When you were doing your 9 to 5, were you still going off hunting just on your own?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you didn't. So you
didn't really lose
a step.
Oh no, definitely not.
Okay.
No, I was always hunting, and I was always in my mind. I shouldn't say that. I lost it. Does that make sense? Like, you ever do that where it was always part of my life, and then I left, and then it was like I was kind of empty.
Yeah. It's sort of like, no, I hear
do
you.
that as a man, right?
No, I see that with comedy, dude. Like when I was always good at fixing shit, but I like making people laugh. And maybe it's not necessarily stand up, but it's
sleep work, right?
Yeah, and it's like if I didn't,
and I was like, I love my family and everything. That's not what it's not like my wife might get offended that I said I hated my life, but I didn't like the person I was.
Exactly.
Like I didn't like myself. I hated my life. Does that make sense? Like I didn't hate my life with her or my family.
No, but you hated your 9 to 5. You hated how you made money. You hated what you spent most of your time doing, right? Which is, and you're not spending most of your time with your family. You're spending most of your time trying to make money. Like as a man, that's sort of what your time is doing. And if you don't enjoy what you do to make money, then that is going to bleed into when you're not making money, because you're going to be thinking about, fuck, I'm going to have to be sitting behind this goddamn cubicle again. I'm going to be having to do this again. No, I completely understand. And so when you made that step, how was that? Like when you first took that, like, okay, I have this saved and I have this, So tell me a little bit about that.
I literally jumped head first, dude. I literally jumped.
So you were like nothing saved. You were just like about 2 weeks.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yep.
And so how'd you get your first client?
Instagram.
Okay, and so what sort of situation was it? So you made like an Instagram profile for your page, and were you sort of advertising yourself as like a hunting guide that is going to get you fit before, like a hunting guide / personal trainer?
Right, yeah, the name gives it up. Yeah, that's what I was doing. And I had started the page while I was still working, and I was like, okay, this is gonna just gonna take off, right? Because I love it and I'm passionate about it. But in reality,
no,
that was a novice move.
Oh yeah, no, you're talking to a guy with 174 Instagram followers. It does not take off just because you're very excited about it and you tell your friends and family.
Yeah, you have to get other people excited about it, and you have to show relevance, and you have to show your passion. And I'm still old school. I'm 34, and I'm still kind of old school. Like I don't like sharing a lot of information online. If that makes sense. Like that's why I think I'm still I was nervous in the beginning of the interview with sharing, because I just don't like sharing information with people. I don't know who's gonna watch. You know what I mean? Like
no, definitely. It's a little scary. Like I kind of felt that when I had a video hit 1,000 views, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And then I saw like I had like 15 like downvotes, and I'm thinking like, are these guys gonna like dox me? I wonder. Like, do they care enough? It was like, do they care enough to like? And it's sort of like you hear these scary stories about stuff, but I mean like it's sort of the same thing with like well, if I go out to the woods, isn't a bear gonna eat me? There's like it's like, well, yeah, that can happen if with these certain circumstances that go down, so.
Right. And you definitely want to make sure that you're, especially if you're hunting, and you down an animal, you need to know if you're in grizzly country.
Oh yeah, because blood,
what I mean? Like, can
attract them.
Definitely. If you have predators in the area, you need to watch out. You need to have your head on a swivel.
So is there somebody like carving while another person is sort of like standing guard with their rifle, like ready?
No, I mean definitely don't there's definitely plenty of solo hunters out there that don't just do it all alone.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that just do it alone. But you definitely don't just put your head down and work. It's not like that. You kind of, and you can't take normal people that have been living and sleeping in a bed all their life and put them in a wilderness situation, in a tent, sleeping bag. I prefer a bivy sack.
Which is, it's like in a tree. Is it that thing that's in a tree where you're
No. It's just where you have, it's like a tent, but it's like wrapped around your sleeping bag. It's like a waterproofing for your bag, and you just sleep on it because you can see everything around you. I don't like things moving around in the woods where I can't see them. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Like, right. So like I make a lean-to. Like I don't mind having a lean-to, and I have a small tent that I use, but most of the time I sleep with my head out because I don't want to be a burrito.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah. But yeah, you can definitely. There's so many resources, especially in 2022. You can figure out bear locations most of the time if there's been a bear sighting in the area, because that's stuff that hikers got to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you can figure out if you're even in grizzly country. Not every place has not Bozeman, Montana, where where grizzlies are at. There are grizzlies a lot of places, but that's just an example. It's not the most wild of. If you're not in the most wild of places, you don't really have to worry about grizzly bears coming and eating you.
So, as a side note, how hard is it to take down a grizzly bear with like a bow? Because, like, I mean, even with when you have a gun and you're hunting a grizzly bear, I feel like that's not a lot. You know what I mean? Considering how big a grizzly bear is and just how massive, it's just nothing but muscle, meat, and fur.
The thing about a grizzly bear is you just don't want to alert them. Like a bow is very powerful, like especially a compound bow.
Yeah.
Grizzlies are definitely not my expertise, dude. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Have you ever taken down a grizzly?
I know people have hunted them a lot. No, I've never hunted a grizzly.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even going to pretend, but I know that modern bows
they can do it
fine on. Yeah, really? They do it all the time.
But it's like season. You have to know exactly where to hit it, right? Or else you're basically
oh yeah, definitely. And I teach that.
Do you want to hit the heart or the head? Like, what are you trying to go for?
No, definitely. I never. Even military snipers don't shoot the head. I don't care. Like the best of the best snipers do not shoot people in the head.
Why is that? I'm just curious. Just why not?
Okay, your head is 3 times smaller than your chest, and if I put a round through your chest, you're gonna die. If I put center mass, so that's what they teach you in the military, center mass, right? Center mass. So right where your heart's at, center mass. If you look at your chest, your square upper body.
Yeah, that's where your heart is. Center of right there.
Right in the heart. Right, so they're going to put a round right there in your chest, and if you miss, they're going to hit a lung. You're still going down. It's going to hurt. You're not running away. Like so, there's this thing called hypotension pneumothorax, and that's where your lung collapses. So if you get shot in the lung, it collapses your lung and it starts putting air inside
your body.
What happens is it puts air in obviously air and blood, but you put a bullet through your lung, right? Then the air from your lung blows into your chest cavity, pressurizing your cavity. And then crushes your lungs, so you're suffocating from the inside out. Right, so that's how. Yeah, so you're not these movies where people are like talking and shit when they've been shot. If they get shot in the lung, they're not talking.
No, they're not doing anything.
It hurts a lot.
So, okay, no, go ahead. It hurts a lot.
Oh no, go ahead.
All right, so I was gonna say
it's not something that you're just gonna be chilling. So,
I'm good. Just like, tell my wife. And then it's just like you give a whole laundry list of things to list off for the dramatic purposes of the movie. But all right. I was just curious about the grizzly bear thing because I have a buddy who was a hunter, or who is a hunter. He's still around. And he or his brother took down a grizzly bear. It was with a gun, but they took down a grizzly bear and he gave me a piece of the meat. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was red. It was super red. It's like dark red meat. And
yeah, game meat is so red.
Yeah,
so
red.
I
was like, what the hell? And he was like, you got to soak it in buttermilk to get the gamey taste out of it, I guess. I don't know. I cooked it. It came out, interesting. kind of rough, but I had bear meat.
What was your first impression? And like I said, if it was it a mountain grizzly or was it a like a
I
coastal?
think it was a mountain. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. I didn't. He just said I killed a bear. You want some meat? Want a tri-tip?
Right, because they eat a lot of sage and different things in the mountains
Mm.
versus like if they're a lowland grizzly, they eat like
Oh, so the meat is extra flavored
fruit.
with the sage.
Right,
It's like, oh, it tastes
right.
like
Fruit. They eat
sausage.
a lot of protein, so yeah, like they eat the fish and that stuff like that. But the lower ones eat berries and all that stuff, so they're a little more sweet.
Okay. Yeah, no,
They got that
I
internal marination going.
nah,
Marinade.
that sounds a little delicious. I don't know. It sounds a little delicious, but
Blueberry gummy bears.
man, going back to like you first get started, you have your like first client, right? Like who, just a little bit about what was that experience like getting a first client and
I
like
was nervous, dude. I
yeah,
felt like even now I struggle with imposters
hmm
syndrome. I think that's what it's called.
yeah, where you
Where I just
don't
don't
feel
feel like
like
I'm
you're
enough, and I feel like that in
yeah,
every aspect of my life. So it's not just this.
oh yeah,
Um, I never feel worthy. I don't know why. I
yeah.
think it's just my drive. That's just God working me, trying to make me better than I am.
Oh yeah, no. People who think they're enough are usually the ones that aren't good enough. They're like, oh
Right.
shit, I'm actually behind the curve.
No, I'm never good enough, dude. And I love this, and I'll never stop doing this. But
Yeah.
no, it was amazing. I made a really good friend from it. Um, they were successful.
So like,
Um,
what was it like? So did you contact him or did he contact you?
oh, they reached out to me.
Okay, and was it sort of in person or was it like an online consultation?
Oh, that was in person.
Okay, and so they were kind of in your area and you guys like met up.
Right.
And how
Yep. Yep.
long? How what kind of process was it? Was it like over the course of a few weeks?
So essentially, it's just like it starts out pretty much like personal training,
Mm-hmm.
like a basic. If you were to go to a personal trainer, they're gonna ask you questions and they're gonna figure out if you have any like chronic diseases or
Mm-hmm.
you know, pains, aches and pains, stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So then you work out, and then so then we built a program around him, like his lifestyle. And I hate one thing I really preach to people
Mm-hmm.
is like just like, all right, coach, do whatever. Like, I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat. No, what is your favorite foods? What do you like to eat? What are you eating now? Like, I send him home with homework, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you come to me and you're like, hey, I want to get better, I'm sending you home with homework.
Yeah. Well,
I need to know
you
10
have to.
meals that you eat because I can't take you from this person and I know what I eat and I know what I'm a Mexican, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
I can eat burritos and tacos and all these things and just be content. If I shove my diet down your throat, are you going to be successful?
Yeah, probably not. You're like, I feel like
Right,
eating
right,
this.
right.
I feel like eating that. I don't even like
Exactly.
tortillas. That kind of thing. So it's like,
Exactly.
I'm not saying
Right,
me
right, right.
personally. I love tortillas.
No,
I'm half Mexican, but in general, the
no,
person
you
that
get the
is
idea.
training you, you have to
All right.
you have to. So and
So I sent him home with
that's
homework.
really that's successful. That first of all, like that's big because with a personal trainer and with a guy who's tried the whole like, all right, I'll just eat whatever you tell me to eat, and then it's like, okay, fuck oatmeal. I want bacon and eggs. Um,
Right. And
you
bacon
know,
and eggs is more than fine.
yeah,
I preach that shit.
it just
Right.
depends on I guess the amount that you eat and I guess how you do it, right?
Right.
So you
So
get
like I have this thing where go ahead.
oh no, you have a thing where what?
So like you know how people crave donuts, right?
Yeah,
I don't crave donuts anymore because I've just been doing this so long. I don't like taste of donuts. I
okay.
just taught myself to hate donuts.
Yeah, your taste
But
buds
there's this
actually
donut,
change.
right? Yeah, because you don't like the shit. Like you just eat it and you have. It's like if you ever read The Power of Habit,
Hmm.
it's like your mental process where you eat a donut. You're like, this is disgusting. This is disgusting. And if you do that enough times, it's like it's disgusting. Does that make sense?
No,
You
it
created a habit
does.
where you feel guilty and you don't like the process of eating a donut because I feel like I could eat. Honestly, I don't like donuts, but I could sit there and eat six.
Mm.
I don't get satisfied from donuts. That's why I don't like donuts, and I'm gonna overindulge in donuts. So what I do is it's like 3 slices of bacon, 3 egg or like 3 eggs, and then cut the donut in half,
Mm.
and then put the bacon and the eggs in the donut and eat the donut. Right? You get the donut
Yeah,
flavor, but you get all the all the carbohydrates and all the protein all those
And it's
micronutrients
filling.
from the eggs and the bacon that you're not getting from the donut, right? Because
Yeah.
donuts, if you look at history, kings fed peasants bread to keep them submissive, right? Because it was non-nutrition. It lacked nutritional value, right? So that's why I don't really like bread, donuts.
Yeah,
It just doesn't
bread's
have the
not good, really
nutritional.
good for you though. In actuality, like the first thing you
It's not
see,
dense in protein. It's not dense in any kind of
it's just there.
aminos or any of the good things that you need in your life.
Yeah, and what sucks is the first thing you do when you get on a diet, and you don't really think about bread being, a huge amount of your meal, but it really is, and it's very much of a cornerstone of a lot of foods and a lot of dishes. There's a bread of some kind in it, so it's like when you start getting on a
Right. Yeah,
diet,
and
it's
that's
like
one of the
fuck.
most frustrating things in my life for the longest time, because that traditional. I have to send you a cool link sometime, but they essentially flipped our food table, right? So bread should be the lowest thing we eat, and meats and fats should be up top, right? Because that's the reason they started that was, I want to say Germany had a poverty struck, like they were poverty struck, so they had to design a meal plan, right? A food table for poverty, for people to be satisfied during poverty. So they would put the most grains are cheap, so the grains are the most abundant in that table, right? So they're the cheapest thing to buy, so they put the most. Right, there's a whole thing to it. I'll have to send you a link. They do
Okay.
it a lot better than me.
I'm kind of interested in that. So you're saying that like Germany, so they basically changed up their food table according to what was available for their people to eat,
Yeah.
regardless of how much it actually helped them and helped their bodies. And it was like, we have mostly bread, so that's the most important substance. That's what you need to be eating
Absolutely,
most of
yeah.
is bread. So
It had nothing to do with actual nutritional
health,
value. It had
nothing. I
to do
got
with
you.
everything to do with affordability and availability.
That makes sense.
That's why that table came from. And then we adopted it like dumbasses, and we're like, hey, why are we so fat
Yeah.
as a country?
Yeah, no, it's
Because you teach your kids that shit,
I
right?
think because that was back when we were kids. We had the pyramid, right? The food pyramid.
Right.
But they changed it to something else. I think later. I'm not sure what it
It's like
was.
a pie chart now, I think.
Yeah, something. I'm not sure. But they change it up every so often. I think maybe. Who knows?
Right. But you
But
think about all those mothers that go to like the WIC program
oh yeah, yeah. No, my
and all
mom was
that
on
stuff,
WIC.
and they train that shit. They teach them. They give them that periodic. They're that freaking food chart, and they're like, okay, you got to give them this much, this, and you got to give them milk, and you got to give them all this shit. Like, you got to have so much grain. You have to have so much. That's based on that chart. So they ingrain it in our children to eat bread, right? Or in mothers to teach their children to eat bread. Like, I can't eat spaghetti without wanting some bread, some freaking garlic bread.
Garlic
You
bread,
know what I mean?
yeah, no, because that's sort of what you dip the garlic bread up with the sauce. Delicious.
Exactly, you gotta have it.
It's
But
all
like,
it's all a part
it's a
of it.
bad habit, dude. That's another 180 to 400 calories, depending on the bread.
So do you guys have like a weight set when you're like, okay, at this weight we're gonna go off and we're gonna start scouting, or at this weight we're gonna go off and we're gonna go on the first hike or something like that, right?
No,
You just
no,
kind of like, I feel
numbers
like
don't
you're
matter.
ready. Okay.
Yeah, no. You can be. I know a guy who's a pretty big guy, and he can freaking run way more than me. Like, I'm
Oh.
not a runner. I don't run. But like, you can be a big dude and run.
Okay, so
Like,
it's
believe
just
me, I know dudes in the military that could run for days, and they were 280 pounds.
oh yeah, but I'm more
They were
saying like
also tall, but like,
what's the, like, do you know, like, what is the, like, okay, now they're ready to go and do you know what I'm trying to say.
milestones,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, now
Yeah.
they're ready to go, and now they're ready to do this. Now they're ready to do that. Do you guys have? Well, do you have that set up? And like, usually, how long does it take? But from when the person talks to you to when they're standing over the elk that you help them, bow hunt, and the person that's hunting, how much experience do they usually have? Like, have you trained somebody who's never fired a gun before? Have you trained somebody who's never been on a hike before? Or have you trained somebody who's just been like super rich, but maybe grossly overweight and just grossly unprepared? And you're like, all right, this is gonna be a bit of a project, right? Because I know, not everybody's gonna take the same amount of time to get from,
It
not
absolutely
ready to ready.
it's a lot of mental.
Mm-hmm.
It really is mental. I try and I'm constantly surveying them mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't put a number on. I hate to put a number on people. Like, I
Yeah.
don't do that. We have 6-week programs, right? So initially, I'm gonna just get movement. We're gonna try and move.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not walking 10,000 steps a day, we're gonna try and bump that up there. Like, you can't take me. I can't take you from walking 2,000 steps a day to walking 10,000 daily,
Mm-hmm.
like in a day. That's how you burn people out. So we have a set schedule. Okay, what's your schedule like? I can only work out 3 days a week. I do it at night. I have to, like, pretty much address, and sometimes I've honestly turned people away because our schedule's just in the line,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I like to be present. So it's a 6-week program, and initially we're just trying to build strength. I don't want to cut. You're gonna start cutting the bullshit, right? So don't eat Snickers. Don't
Yeah.
eat shit. Like, what when okay, Herbal, I want you to stop eating bullshit. What are you gonna cut out of your
Yeah.
diet? If I said I
Ninety
need you to cut
percent.
five things of bullshit out of your diet right now today, what is it?
Oh, so when you say 5 things of bullshit, we're talking about like so.
Like, the most bullshit shit you shouldn't be eating.
Oh
Like,
man,
this shit
fast
immediately
food,
comes to mind.
fast food, McDonald's, right? Like I'll go
Right,
and I'll knock out 4 double cheeseburgers like it's nothing.
right. Okay, so what's your alternative to doing that?
See, there's no alternative. That's one of the things that's so for me personally, if we're getting into my personal weight loss experience, right, or using me as an example, I because of my job, I'm driving 100 miles to 100 miles, 150 miles a day. Let me get a little bit of water,
No, no worries.
and because of that,
Right. Transport industry is definitely understand that, dude.
it's like if I'm gonna have food that I'm gonna bring from home, it's probably gonna be sitting in my car. I'm not gonna really have a way to heat it up. So fast food's always been like the fastest thing to go. It's like, okay, hit McDonald's real fast, boom, I'm over to my next job. It's fast and it's convenient, and I can eat it while I'm driving.
Right.
That's the reason why I like it. And so I gotta find an alternative for that, which is which is not. Well, what would you say would be a good alternative for that actually?
Well, you could look at different styles of fast food, like Panda
Mm,
Express.
okay.
It's more healthy than McDonald's. It has more nutritional value. You could get rice. Like, rice has, it's not more nutritionally value,
So
but
rice versus fries. Like rice is way
right,
better for you
exactly.
than
It's just
fries.
what
Yeah.
you're putting. It's fuel you're putting in your body. Like, one of the best things I like to eat is, like, beef and broccoli, right?
Hmm.
So beef and broccoli, I get the super um, veg, and I get half the rice. So I don't even eat all the rice, and I get a plate, right? So I get 2 meats, half the veggies, and then half the rice. So, right,
Hmm.
and then I eat that, and I love it. So I get, like, beef and broccoli, orange chicken, boom, 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 and right. So that's something that I don't eat instead. I would eat instead of McDonald's, for burgers at McDonald's. And it's not necessarily that McDonald's is bad. It just lacks nutritional value.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that you could eat the same amount of Panda Express that you could eat. And I'm going to advocate for a Panda Express. That's just an example.
Yeah.
There's no carbs. Like, or it's limited carbs, right? Because if you get the beef and broccoli, there's not the breading, right?
Mm.
Right. Or if you get the shrimp, right? It's got, and then you're starting to get into micronutrients. So you have a lot more micronutrients. You got zinc, you got magnesium, you got, like, most men nowadays are low in zinc. They don't even know it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah,
That's why it's in men's vitamins most of the time. Because
zinc.
they're low in.
It's been a
You
while
want
since
to
I've been
get
to the doctor, so I don't know.
right.
Do you have them get blood tests and do things like that before you start like getting them on, or do you like request any
I
medical work or
I
anything?
work with people of all different style, like, backgrounds, so I
Hmm.
can't necessarily ask if they're wealthy. I could ask them that, but I don't normally ask that because I
Oh,
try
I
and
see.
just standardize it.
So there are guys that maybe they don't have health insurance, so they've never done this, they've never done that.
Right, right.
And so
Like I
those
don't
guys
charge
usually
a
get
premium.
into shooting and stuff too, because I feel like
Right.
hunting is
Archery
an
in itself is
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yes. Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes, but yeah, all people get into it. It's
Mm,
just a matter of like, dude. Honestly, I've killed elk in mismatched camo that was my dad's.
mm.
Like it doesn't matter. Like the camo, it does. In certain situations, it matters, but like it's not everything, right? It's
Yeah,
like consistency. If you're consistent and you continue to put in the work, you're gonna become successful. The where the expensive stuff comes into play is like elements. If you're in freezing ass cold temperatures, you don't want to have shit equipment because your shit equipment's gonna get you killed,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. No, yeah.
Right. But if you're hunting a standard, it's 60, 70 degrees and you're just chilling,
then
you're
you can
fine.
get away with it. You can get away with
Like a
not using
camelback
the
and
high end.
bare minimum, a good decent backpack, and like guys get it done all the time that have been hunting the same area. It's about consistency. Like I said, they grew up with their dads hunting the same area they were hunting, so they know the animals, right?
Hmm.
It's about the animals. It's not about the equipment. It's about the person's capabilities, right?
Hmm.
So you may say, "Hey, man, I want to get fit for elk hunting." It may take us 3 years to get you to where you're a fucking stud in the woods. Like, and I'm not saying that's like I'm trying to drag people out. I'm just saying if you're 280 pounds
Oh
and you're
yeah.
5'6", it's gonna take time. I don't do the 90-day transformation shit. That's so bullshit.
No, there's no 90-day
There,
transformation. No,
right? Yeah, no, it's
because
not.
like
It's a lifestyle.
the, I mean, even still, it's like you look at these 90-day transformation programs, and there's nothing really at stake, right? If you
Right,
spend 90 days and it's like, all right, go off into the woods, and he's not ready, that dude might die.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
So yeah,
And
we teach navigation. We teach like I said, you have different types of equipment that you can use. I don't want to get off on a tangent. So as far as
no,
the
no, no, you're
training
good.
goes, I want to stay on the training. Yeah. So
So what's the most important thing? Like, when you're training these guys up,
yeah,
right?
mindset. I train for mindset.
Hmm.
When are they gonna cheat? Are they in it? Are they love it? Are they getting burned out?
Well,
Like at first, it's baby steps. Like you're taking a baby
mhm.
in the beginning, and that's not like trying to sound fucked up to my clients or anything, but
No,
you're
you are.
taking
It's a baby.
right. It's something. Yeah, it's a
When you
baby. You
start
have to
something
treat it.
new, you have to be ready to be a
I can't
dumbass.
say, hey, Herbal, go run hill sprints.
No, you can't do
I'll
that
call.
shit.
I'll tell you when you're done.
Nah,
Like that shit don't work. You have to build
nope.
trust. You have to build patience. You have to build understanding with people. You have to build a relationship, honestly. So I'm just trying to fill them out, see where their head is, if they have emotional issues, if they have mental issues, physical issues. Like, you know what I mean? Just all those things. How motivated are they to do this? Motivation's a lie.
Yeah.
How long are they going to stick to this? You know what I mean? I shouldn't say how motivated. Like, you can be super motivated for a week, and I could beat your brains in, and you'd be like,
Fuck
I'm done.
this.
Yeah. I
Oh,
don't want to, like, so I ease people into it. So, like, the first couple weeks is just trial and error. Okay.
Night Rockin, thanks for dropping in.
So, like, I've had clients that do a lot of, program overhead presses in, right?
Hmm.
And they're like, okay, dude, this hurts my left shoulder. Because you got to think, if you've never hunted with a bow before, or if you've never shot a bow before, I'm putting you through the ringer in the gym. I'm also I'm teaching you to shoot your bow, or you're shooting your bow. A lot of them have just came to me because they have a bow already and they just want to step up their game, right?
Yeah. What's up, Schmitty? So, so you get people who are just like, okay, I just want to step up my game with my bow skills, and I actually want to be able to, instead of hitting targets, hit an animal. But do you get guys that have never? So somebody who's never, like, let's say he's like, I want to learn from scratch. Like I've never learned how to do this as like a, my family's always been like me. For instance, like I'm like I've been on a couple of hikes before. I've been in two backcountry hikes. I was gonna go to Alaska in actually my like senior year of high school on this like backcountry sort of trip. But I had a championship football game. We won. I have a ring, but yeah, I didn't go to Alaska. So
Yeah, I've
there
had
was
a
that.
couple scratch people that have never done anything hunting,
Do they
and
start?
it's actually more. It's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
I
they don't
help
have any
them get
bad habits, right?
right. Yeah, and it's amazing that I love to see them grow into the passion. Right,
Mm,
they have an idea, they start dabbling, right, and they there's a it's a giant rabbit hole, man. So I tell them, I don't tell anybody to buy certain things. Like
yeah.
I have my bow that I shoot it's my brand, right?
Mm,
I want you to shoot the bow that you like. Go close your eyes at the target range, and this is a very sounds bad, but it's not. You're in a very closed environment, right? So
yeah.
you draw the bow back, close your eyes, and feel how it feels. Does it feel comfortable? Like draw a couple different bows. Which one feels the best to you? Because I'm a short, buff guy, right?
Yeah.
So super long arm people don't like my kind of bow. Skinny arm people, super long, scrawny arms ain't gonna like the kind of bows I shoot,
Yeah.
right? So I like them fast. That they hit harder, right?
Yeah.
So I like the way IBO works, right? So I have a bow that's rated at 350 feet per second, right?
Oof.
So the way you do that is that's a 350 grain arrow. Dude, this is gonna anyways. So, but what I do is I bump my arrow weight. So the heavier the arrow, the lower the speed will get, right?
Yeah.
But the higher IBO, so it pushes it out faster, so I can add more weight to my arrow, so then it would hit harder with downrange. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
No, yeah, it makes
So
sense.
faster the bow, the heavier the arrow, the harder it'll hit.
Yeah, and usually the shorter is it the longer the bow or the shorter the bow, depending on the kind of power that you're bringing.
Generally, short bows are faster.
Okay.
Short draw brace height. So the closer the string is to the riser.
Yeah, I've seen those bows with like
Like
four of them. They're like a big X, and they you kind of pull those back. I don't know if they're any good. I just thought it kind of looked cool. But so
yeah.
you still have new guys. So if they've never even fired a gun, you have them starting off with like a bow and arrow versus like a long rifle or
Well,
something.
no. I mean a rifle. Like it doesn't matter. I teach both,
Mm.
but I don't. I prefer archery. I'm an archery hunter,
Yeah,
so I
personally.
mostly majority of my clients have been archery.
But would it be harder to get somebody like using me for instance? Would it be harder to get me to be able to shoot? Because I've never fired a gun before or fired a bow before, right? So would it be
Right.
easier to get me proficient with a gun versus with a bow? And so if
I
if
feel like
if you were
both
to
have a
take me as a
disadvantage.
client, oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you were to take me as a client, would you rather? And I'm like, okay, my goal is to kill elk, right? In like backcountry, 20 miles in, what do I need to do? And would you say, okay, well, we're gonna get you killing elk with a bow, or we're gonna get you killing elk with
No, I'm
a
definitely
rifle?
going to stay in line with your end goal. If
Mm.
you would rather hunt with a rifle, I'm going to teach you all the things I know about
So
rifles.
you would give that up to the person. You would let them decide,
Right,
right?
absolutely. I just feel like there's a lot more I train.
Mm.
Like my bow program is a lot more in depth and more involved. They have to do a lot. They have to be a lot more dedicated to bow.
Mm.
Like rifle, it's something. So like my archery guys mostly shoot every day,
Mm.
like or every other day. Like okay, so if I train you 5 days a week, right,
Yeah.
or even 4 days a week. So Monday you're training in the gym. Tuesday you're shooting your bow. Wednesday you're training in the gym. Thursday you're shooting your bow. Friday you're training in the gym. Saturday you're training in with your bow. Sunday you're training in the gym, right?
Okay.
So like a 7-day cycle. You have off days, on days, off days, on days. But you're still shooting. You're still in the program. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's just an example. It's a 365 thing. It's not something that we just nonchalantly. It's not.
Well, of course. And so you're with that person, while they're shooting, while they're so you kind of see their progress and sort of, and you can say, okay, this guy's ready to go, hunting with the bow,
Right.
or this guy still needs some time to get his aim right, he still, is doing this or is doing that, which is throwing the bow off or throwing the arrow off or X, Y, and Z.
Right. So essentially, the best method to shoot a bow is just to try and be not present. If you drew a bow back in air, right, and let it go, like it's gonna balance itself, right? If you
Yeah.
put a stick behind a bow and you pull the bow back with no tension on the release, it's gonna balance itself perfectly,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
If you have a rod on it, right,
That makes sense.
and then you release the arrow, it's gonna fly perfectly because there's no tension, right? There's no external force touching it, right?
Mm.
It's when you start putting your hand in it, right? So your hand's on it, you got side pressure from your hand, your palm, right? Your left palm.
Mm.
You got front pressure from your fingers. You've got facial pressure from your hand, from your face on the string where you're aiming it. There's all the external parts of our life, right? Of our being in the arrow, in the bow that makes the arrow wonky. Because there's a thing called a hooter shooter, and it's essentially what I just told you, where you hook it to a rod and then you pull it back and it shoots perfectly every time.
That's what that little thing is that I see them. It's like they're not holding the string; they're holding this kind of device. That's what it is called, a hooter shooter.
Oh, a hooter shooter is it's a type of machine that it's not. It's like, man, I'm trying to think. What's that? Like a ratchet.
Mm.
I'll have to send it to you. But it's just a device they use to draw the bow back without a person being involved,
Okay.
right? So you're not getting all the external pressures of the body from the person, right? You're not getting the grip, like I said. You're not getting the pressure, the uneven palm pressure. You're not getting all the things that come into play when you're shooting a bow. There's a lot to shooting a bow, believe it
Yeah.
or not.
No,
So,
it looks like there's a lot to shooting about. And I mean, if you've
right.
even kind of held, like, if you've even held one of those, like, little kid Wild Wild West bow toy sets that you got at the gas station when you were a kid, and it had the little, suction arrows, even then you were like, oh, this isn't as easy as just like, I can only imagine an actual, like, bow that can, you know, penetrate the heart of an elk from how long are these shots being taken from, by the way?
40 yards, dude. 50 yards max, like
40,
most of the
50
time.
yards, okay.
Yeah, you don't want to go crazy. And that's one of the things, like I said, it's so much more in depth because like train low crawling. And a lot of it, like low crawling, especially from a military background,
Mm.
is degrading. And it's very hard first it was very hard for me to train guys with it because I'm like, they're going to hate me for this. But it honestly is one of the most beneficial, like crab walks, like all those weird movements. Like you want to be able to tinker your body in different ways
Oh,
because you're
okay, I see what you're
ducking
saying,
under
like,
limbs,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
crawling in grass. Like cheetahs do that shit. Like if you look at a cheetah stalk an animal,
Hmm.
I'm essentially teaching people to do that because you have to get within 50 yards, and you may see this elk get 300 yards. And
Oh
that's where the
shit.
rifle thing comes into play. So like 300 yards with a rifle, it's a bit far for most people, but 150 yards, that's when most people see elk, right?
Hmm.
You generally see maybe an idea of an elk at 300 yards, and then you get closer to 150, and you actually confirm
And
it's
you're
an
boom,
elk.
there it is.
And then for a bow hunter, that's when it starts. That's when your hunt starts. Versus a rifle hunter, your hunt's over most of the time if you're a
Because you
good
just
shot.
shoot it right there, pow, and you're done.
Right. But for a rifle hunter or a bow hunter, we have to get way closer.
Now you have to stalk it. You have to get close enough to, so you're literally like in the tall grass, like
Right.
you are
Or in
the
the wood
predator.
line
Yeah,
or in the shadows. Yeah, that's the best part. Like that's the most exciting part.
yeah,
That's when your shit starts really shaking. Like you get excited. You're like, dude, calm the fuck down. Keep your
yeah,
head
yeah,
clear.
yeah. No,
That's
I
where all
got
the
you.
training comes in. That's where we train the mental state, right?
Mm.
That's why I was saying my program is mental. It's more about your mentality. How confident are you?
And when you get down there, can you take that shot? Because it's not you're
Right.
not gonna take the shot when you get down there. It's up to the client to take the shot because that's why they're here.
Right. Well, yeah, and like you're super fatigued,
Mm.
right? So you may have been this. It doesn't happen on the first day. This is it could be 10 days, 15, 20 days into a hunt. Season here is 28 days.
Yeah,
I don't normally stay with the same client for that long, but 28 days is the season. So ideally, you could hunt 28 days for an animal. and if you just decide to stay out there, you're obviously gonna have to come back for resupply. But there, that's a whole other topic.
Uh,
So
when you get these elk, right? Like you were telling me about the story where you had the guy. He only had 15 pounds of meat that he was packing back out. That means that between you and your pops, it was just you three, right? You guys had probably what, like over 100 pounds of meat each. Like how much do these
it's
meat
about
weigh, and how much do you
280
take with
pounds of
them?
meat
Oh,
for one
god
elk.
damn.
Yeah.
300. So it's about
So
like me minus
so a
about
single
100
person's
pounds.
gonna take about 4 trips
Holy
to back it out.
shit.
Yeah. If you're a solo hunter, you're taking 4 trips in. So if you're 20 miles in, that's 4 trips back to the truck.
Do you think so? That's 80 fucking miles that you have to hunt, that you have to hike.
Yeah. Dude,
Like,
it's not easy shit.
how does the meat stay good
That
for that long? Like how long will it take
Yeah, well, there's
somebody?
different methods.
Okay, go into the different methods, because my whole thing is this, right? There's 300 pounds of meat right here. There's no way to do it in one trip, 20 miles on your fucking back. 300 pounds, like that's not happening. Plus the stuff that you're carrying. So
Right. I'll
okay,
get
so
into that.
when you cut the meat, what is it looking like? What is it in bags? Like what? Like
Right. Yes, you have bags. It's essentially best way and I've honestly used them.
mm,
The plain white pillowcases?
yeah.
Yep. That's what you put meat in. That way they breeze, right? You don't want it to get wet. You don't want to put it in black bags because it'll get hot, right?
So no plastic
Especially I
bags,
put it in
pillowcases.
90-degree
What?
weather, dude. I've hunted elk in 90-degree weather. You don't
Oof.
put meat in a sack in 90-degree weather. Imagine
No.
putting that. Yeah, imagine putting a Walmart bag of meat in the back of your pickup for an hour.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Okay, so you put it in
Right,
like sackcloth
right.
bags.
And then you wrap it up, and you can hang it from a tree. You can. What I will do is I'll
Mm,
put a waterproof bag if I
mm,
have the opportunity. I'll get a waterproof bag, and I'll put the meat in those waterproof bags, and then I'll like tie it off into the river.
mm.
So like the
Oh,
waterproof,
yeah.
right?
You
So
told me
then the
about that.
stream will keep the water or the meat cold. So it's like a refrigerator, right? Because of course
Yeah.
the streams are about 45 degrees, and you can bury it, and also it kills the scent. But you got to be
Mm.
careful because if you're cutting up that meat and you put your hands on that rope, that blood will stay on that rope. I learned that the hard way one time when I was a kid.
They found the rope instead of the meat.
Yeah,
And
and they don't. Yeah, exactly. They found the rope and they pulled it up and ate it.
oof, man.
Yeah, so
Well, so it so you do end up getting usually all of like 300 pounds though back to the truck
oh yeah, absolutely.
between even if it's one person. So how long is a
Right.
20-mile hike? Like how long does that usually take an average person?
Ooh, that's a good day.
Yeah, I feel like that's a day. So it'd be like 4 days. It'd
That's a
be
day. Yeah. Generally, most guys that are that deep, they call a pack guys. So
okay.
like a llama guy or a mule guy, they call that guy the packer, right?
Mm.
The animal, they got the llamas or the pack llamas or the pack burros. They call those guys in because they're like, 120-mile hike in is no, 120-mile pack out is not something
Want to be
you're
able to
gonna
do?
recreate the same day for sure. That'll just destroy you, dude.
Yeah.
If you carry out one solid load, we're talking 80 to 100 pounds, 20 miles, you're destroyed.
You're done.
Your body will be destroyed.
Yeah, you're done.
I don't care
You
how
get to
good of a
that
shape.
truck and you go to sleep. It's a wrap.
Right. You're gonna be done for at least a good 16 hours after that.
Yeah, so that's sort of my question. It's like, how do you get one? How does one guy get 300 pounds? Where it's a process that's gonna take like a week just to get the
Right.
meat back out to the truck, right?
Well, so essentially, that's where you have to have planning ahead. But they would do the pack out, like I said, with the llamas, or they would have a guy ready to come in,
Mm-hmm.
buddy.
Ready to come in and just like his whole job is just to bring the meat.
Pack
You
out.
already hunted
Right.
it. Time to bring it in.
Right. And then you could do it by yourself, but like I said, it's the river method, and then you're just running it out. You could probably do 45 pounds. You don't go 20 miles if in like if you
And
go
now you're
20 miles in and kill an
surprised.
elk, you are definitely calling a packer.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if you're a solo dude and you better have money to pack it out.
yeah.
That's just not something you're gonna you go do. You're gonna be like 5 to 10 miles in at the most.
Okay.
I would say 5 to 7.
And when you
Essentially, all you want to do is get to the furthest road from common roads, right? So
mhm.
you want to find a road that's deep, and then it's the last road for a while, and then you're gonna get out and walk it, and you should be 5 to 7 miles in, and then you want to, stay in that area. You don't want to go deep, deep, unless you're prepared. Those 20-mile hikes in are definitely not for people that are solo.
Yeah, it's for a group of guys. And when you do 20 miles in, how many guys do you usually have with you?
Oh, it's at least like I would say 7,
7 dudes. And
7 dudes.
how many elk are you is it just one elk that you're bringing back with you?
Yeah. Well, no, dude. Like it depends. Like
Mhm.
four to five, I would say
You can
generally.
so 4 to 5, you can bring that much meat back with 7 guys?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Well, no, dude. You're thinking at the same time. If you're
Yeah.
back, yeah, no, not you're not five. If you kill 5 elk in one day, you're lucky. So you better go buy a lot of them.
So when you're killing 5 elk, it's over the course of.
The 28 days for sure.
Oh, I see. And that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's if everything goes perfectly. That's a beautiful season.
And is it like
Right.
I don't know. Well, how good is elk meat? I've heard
It's
you've heard people going off about it before, like Joe Rogan. It's one of the ones that comes
it's
off the top of my head, but
it's damn good, dude. It's all kind of about how you prepare it.
mhm.
Um, I feel like it's just another kind of beef. It's a lot leaner than beef. It doesn't have. There's certain cuts of beef that are better than elk meat,
Oh, okay.
like tri-tips and all that. But like the back straps on an elk are like amazing. Um, they make amazing jerky. I
Mhm.
prefer elk jerky over actual
Beef jerky. Why is it like more flavorful,
juices.
softer?
Yeah, it just has a different texture and flavor, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it's just got a stronger flavor, I would say. That's the flavor that people don't like necessarily out of the gaminess, I would say. I enjoy the gaminess. So going back to my childhood, I actually grew up. So when I went in the military, I got out, I got heavy, right?
Hmm.
Because like I said, I would eat, sleep, work. So I got heavy, and I was like, why the fuck am I fat now? I got to 220 pounds. I was like, I went in the army at 143 pounds.
Huh.
So when
Whoa.
yeah, I'm a short dude, but anyway, so I got it, and I'm like, damn, I got to figure out what. So essentially, my mom had a giant ass garden. We had fresh eggs, fresh milk, all organic, like made, right in our own network, right? So like, my aunt milked the cows. My other aunt had the freaking chickens, and then we had, the elk meat and the fresh beef that we butchered ourselves in our own shed,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So, and so I ate organic, like high quality food, like I would say the best food you could eat as a human,
Hmm.
just untouched by hormones my entire childhood. And then I got out into the world and I was eating fucking meat or like lots of processed foods and lots of, you know, uh, pasteurized dairy and all these chemicals, right?
Hmm.
All the breads. So then I realized, okay, this is where I need to go back to, and that's where it kind of all kind of came together, and I started my journey again.
And so it's really like a difference eating that, like, instead of processed meat, that, like, I guess processed by Mother Earth, right? That kind of meat is what
Right. Well,
is
they put a
more
lot of hormones. Like a lot of people don't know this, but everything you eat has to be that's approved by the FDA has to be vaccinated,
mm,
right? And it has to have like penicillin and all these different chemicals put into them to be cleared, right? They have to make sure there's no diseases in them,
yeah.
right? So there's a risk involved when you eat. Well, I wouldn't say the risk, but there's not all those chemicals in the feed because they'll put a lot of soy in feed. And if you look at the way that soy affects a man's body,
More
it
estrogen.
actually, yes, it boosts estrogen. That's why there's so many females now where they eat so much soy and they don't even realize it, dude. They're eating a freaking steak from freaking a steakhouse and it's packed with freaking soy because the soy's in the feed.
Holy
And
shit!
as we
So
were talking with the
so it's
bear,
you're eating meat, and it's almost. I mean, it's not like you're vegetarian, but you're getting so much soy from it that you might as well be having like one of those very firm pieces of like a tofu or something.
right? Yeah. So there's all the it's what you eat.
Mm.
Same with an animal, you get what you eat. Like if your bear's eating a lot of berries, it's going to be sweeter than a bear that's eating a lot of salmon and a lot of sage and those different
No,
mountainous herbs.
that makes sense. That
So
makes
yeah,
sense.
so I decided that that was not the best life for me, and I went back to my old ways of how I got raised.
And you're still now running it, and you're how many like clients do you have right now, or how many do you usually like juggle at a time?
As of October of last year, I kind of slowed it down because I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to help Vix get her stuff going.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, okay, I had my time. I'm gonna give you some time. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of let my clients dissipate for the time being, and I'm starting to ramp back up now.
Okay.
And by January, I'll have more clients.
But when you were going full beast, how much would you, or how many clients would you usually
Most
juggle?
clients I've had was 15, but if you get to really
15.
looking at it, yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, damn, that's a lot. Like that's a lot of people to. I was thinking more like 5 or 6, 15. And was a lot of them in person? Were some of them online? Were like,
right. So some of them weren't the full package. So like
mm,
there's tiers.
yeah,
So I only had 5 that were the I train you and you come hunt with me.
okay. So that's the full package.
Right.
That's the
That's an that's deep pockets.
mm,
And then like I just had clients that just wanted to work out and just be a part of the brand kind of thing.
yeah.
So and they were like intermittent, but I have a big plan where I would like to take them on like have those tiers stepped up. So like there's the elk package, and there's like I still get to do the same process but with smaller animals, like a
Mm.
deer package below that, and then like a hog package, right?
Oh,
Where
hogs, yeah.
it's like couple.
And then small game maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's on you, but yeah, I mean small game. I hope by the time that we're done, you could hunt small game without my help. I mean, I
Without-
feel like, yeah, I definitely feel like small game would be easy.
Is that? I mean, well, I guess, but like, how do you hunt small game to where you can actually I don't know, like you shoot a squirrel. Okay, now what? Like I don't, like
Oh, you mean the skinning process?
yeah, that kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I would
It's
do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's more what I'm talking about when I say small game package.
I mean, in like as far as I don't know the value of that. That would be maybe a potential idea.
Well, I'm
Um,
only asking about that because I guess when we get to one of the videos coming up, one of the guys, his plan was to hunt small game, right? So he had about, I guess, 400 rounds of 22 ammo when he went out. But I was thinking really like, how much can small game help you? Because I know if you eat too much lean meat, you can still starve to death if there's not enough fat in lean meat. I heard you can actually still starve to death if you only eat like lean meat.
yeah,
Um,
it's well. I mean, I would think that's the reason. Okay, so meat. The reason that this whole thing started was
mm.
meat is expensive.
Oh yeah.
Like it's the best thing we can do. Like even looking back at our ancestry, when you killed a big animal, they were partying. It was like a freaking feast,
Hmm.
right? And if you look at those, we were talking about overseas earlier with Africa and stuff, where they're hunting giraffes.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate on those hunters, but those guys are paying millions of
To
dollars
do that.
to that village to hunt that, and then once they kill that animal is then fed to that village.
Yeah, they're not taking all that fucking giraffe meat home with them. You know what I
They
mean?
take
It's not.
like it's sad, but they take the trophy home, the head and the bottom, like the head and the neck,
Mm,
some parts of the neck and the head, as a memorabilia of what they did in Africa.
mm.
And then they fed an entire village and gave
Yeah.
massive money towards a good cause, which is a third world country that's potentially, they're not potentially starving. If you look at any kind of video or photos of that area, you can see that they're obviously struggling.
Yeah, it's not a good place. And it's like, I mean, not a good place as in like it's not a very wealthy place. There's not an access of
Right.
wealth or an abundance of food. Um, None of that.
So
And
imagine bringing a 1,200-pound giraffe in a fucking village, dude. You're gonna be the
yeah,
hero.
exactly. Even still, it's like the $1,200 giraffe, sure, but the money that went to the person who's like to the village itself for hunting that,
Right.
it does a lot, honestly, and you see that especially for conservation. And a lot of the conservationists don't like hunters, but the conservationists that don't like hunters are the same conservationists that like to go hiking, but don't necessarily pay money or donate anything, or but they're mad at the hunter who's like paying for his hunting license, and then a lot of the times hunting gear, a portion of that goes to conservation efforts. So like these
Right. A
hunters
lot of
that
the
you guys
companies
don't
do
like,
10% for conservation.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
put your money where your mouth is. A lot of these hunters are doing it. They're spending all this fucking extra money on shit just so that we do have woods to go into. One of the reasons why there's still animals are because hunters, like people with money and power, are like I still enjoy hunting, so we're not going to get rid of the rainforest. So it's hunting is what's protecting capitalism from just swallowing up the environment more.
Right. Because the
It,
government doesn't give a shit, and if
no,
anyone
not at
thinks that
all.
the government gives a shit about us, it's
Oh,
just
no,
naive.
not at
They're
all.
naive.
No, 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 not at all. And I mean, like, it seems like the government is trying to put its dick as far into Mother Nature as they can.
Right.
You know,
Until it dies.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and then what else is left, right? And if there's no fucking trees, then we can't breathe. Then we all suffocate. I'm gonna be smoking weed though till the end. I'll tell you that much.
Go out in a puff of smoke.
Exactly. Have you ever run into any like fake outdoorsmen or any like guys who like really talk a big game, but don't necessarily like, but are dumb as hell, or just I don't know. Have you ever run into any wannabes?
I don't know. As far as wannabes, like I said, I have that imposter syndrome where I feel like I don't do enough.
Oh yeah,
But
but I mean, have you ever
I don't
seen
really try and
somebody?
judge people. Honestly, Herbal, I don't judge people like that, dude. I
Oh
really
no,
don't.
I hear you, but
If somebody says,
good.
yeah, go ahead. Like I just don't. I feel like shitting on somebody because they haven't killed a bunch of animals is like
Oh no,
degrading.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is people who are like actively teaching people the wrong things to do because they don't know. They're like, oh, you can like, the guys who are just like, yeah, you don't need to purify the running water. If it's running, just drink it. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen guys who were just like, even using the term wannabes? How about ignorant? Who are ignorant but like willfully ignorant on the topic of like hunting, and who are even like teaching other people the same.
I mean, I guess I just don't like. I don't pay mind to that. I guess
Yeah.
it doesn't take up headspace. I'm really busy, dude. I really am. As far as
You're
like,
like I mind my own business.
right? Exactly. I don't talk. If somebody says, "Oh, I don't like that herbal motherfucker," like I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like,
Oh no.
you know what I mean?
I more mean like let's say it's like, yeah, I was taught that like, you're supposed to do this and do this when you're drawing a bow back. And it's like, whoa, who taught you that? Because that's completely wrong. Like I don't know enough about
I think.
so for instance, like if somebody was training somebody like in like as a technician, and they're like, yeah, you take this white cord and you put it over here, and then you splice them together, and I'm like, no, you don't do that because that's the common and that's the ground. So if you do that, then it's gonna fucking short circuit.
Right? Yeah,
You
I get
know,
what you're saying. I'm just trying to think. Like I said, it doesn't take up a lot of headspace.
yeah. So there's not really a lot of imposters in the.
It's probably been a lot of it. Like you'll either be outed or you won't. Like you'll either have fruit, or you won't.
Now the reason why I bring that up,
Go ahead.
no, is because have you heard of Bear Grylls and Man versus Wild?
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently it came out that it was a total sham. Well, I mean, it came out a while ago, but I wanted to use him as an example of.
And confirmed instances of fakery have surrounded the production of Man vs. Wild over the years, and there are even some things Bear Grylls and his producers have admitted to making up. So if you ever thought the show was unbelievable, you were right. Let's take a look at all the reasons Man vs. Wild is totally fake. Although Bear Grylls claims to be a survival and bushcraft expert, a closer examination shows he wasn't closely involved in that world before starting his show, which isn't to say he's completely clueless. Grylls was in the military as a member of the UK's Special Air Service for 3 years, and as part of that unit he was trained in combat survival skills. But Grylls didn't come to prominence for his military exploits. Before
You know what I find? A lot of wildlife guys start in the military.
Right.
Or like have some
I
kind
feel
of
like
military
it's a drill
history.
thing, dude. I think it goes from 0 to, and maybe that's part of mine too. It's just, well, fuck, we don't like people that much, to be honest. It's the
What
loud
about-
noises. It's the loud noises and shit. But I love people. I shouldn't say it like that. Large crowds of people that are just like extremely loud, I don't like.
You love people, but you enjoy your solitude as well.
Exactly.
Oh.
So
I just
Yeah.
thought that was funny. This guy was in the Air Force. I'm like, huh, another military guy. Except this guy's not exactly
he was
as
SAS, I think.
Really?
Some kind of special operations. Yeah, he was UK special operations. So he knows some. I'm sure he knows some shit.
Oh, those
but-
dudes are badass, but it's like, I guess it's more
First big
about,
TV
it's not about what he was doing before, it's about what he did on camera, or what he didn't do, rather.
break with Man vs. Wild in 2006, he became famous for his widely publicized adventures, including climbing Mount Everest at age 23, crossing the North Atlantic in an inflatable boat, and hosting a dinner party in a hot air balloon at 25,000 feet. While these were no doubt grueling experiences, they don't necessarily qualify somebody to be a survival expert. When you compare Grylls' resume to those of fellow TV survival hosts Ray Mears and Les Stroud, it becomes clear that
that's
his
the problem,
experience
they're
pales
comparing
in
people.
I've never
Okay,
heard.
the dude climbed fucking Everest.
Yeah.
So that's a feat in itself.
Oh, definitely.
But okay, there's a saying that comparison is a thief of joy, dude. And so I spent a lot of my time, like in the early on, where I was comparing myself to other people who are in the industry, and they made it look prettier than me.
Yeah.
Like, you know. So I just feel like comparison is a thief of joy. This dude, yeah,
He's done a lot. He's done a lot, so it's like, he shouldn't have to
he did
compare
climb
himself
Everest,
to
and
who.
I've heard that's pretty hard. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
couldn't
not saying
climb.
he's a survival expert, but he fucking.
I mean,
he
you
knows
have to
something.
be some kind of expert to climb fucking Everest, because people don't come back from that. That is something that you can do.
That's definitely
and
more
die.
experience than elk hunting.
Yeah.
I couldn't just go climb Everest. So, anyways,
Oh, no. I mean, I couldn't either. I don't think anybody could.
comparison to theirs.
Well, I guess he could. I mean, anybody could just, like, wake up tomorrow and go climb it. But I'm sure there was preparation. I'm sure he didn't just decide on Tuesday he wanted to, climb Everest. It was, like anything. Anything you succeed at, there should be, preparation. Or usually there's preparation. Sometimes you're just David Goggins and fucking just do it.
so what's the difference in an expert and an enthusiast?
Pain? What's the difference?
I'm just asking. I don't know. What's the difference in an expert and an enthusiast?
An expert does it as a job, I feel like. An expert makes money from it. An expert, because, like, it's, so for instance, like, I've seen, when it comes to, like, so I've seen guys who do jobs like side work, and then I've seen the same guys who do those jobs in a company, and it's like night and day, right? You do a job with a company, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, we can get this. There's systems in place that help you get things done, right? When you're just doing it on your own, if you're an enthusiast, you don't necessarily have those kind of systems in place, right? Like, let's say you're doing a job, and then something breaks. Or let's say you're fixing one thing, and then in order to get to this part, you break another part. Now, if you are in a company, okay, we can get this part added on, and, it probably won't be that much extra, or because you broke it, the company will cover it. Versus if it's just you, then you're covering that out of your own pocket, or you're asking the person themselves to come out of their pocket for a mistake you made, right?
Right.
There are differences between enthusiasts and, like, and a professional, like especially for like even for you, like an elk, like let's say like a dude that just hunts elk. Like I'm sure you know guys who hunt elk. Could they actually
Yeah.
teach people to hunt elk and send them out to go do it successfully? Probably not. They themselves can go out and get some elk. That doesn't mean that they're enthusiasts. You're like a professional, I would say. But yeah.
Mears has taught bushcraft skills since 1983 to both private citizens and the military. Similarly, Stroud has served as a wilderness survival instructor since 1990 and teaches survival skills to the Canadian military. So while Grills may look cool when he heads into the wild, he's not necessarily the one you want keeping you alive out there. The premise of Man vs. Wild is one man alone against the elements, but on several occasions, those elements involve 4 walls and a roof, along with room service, according to survival experts who worked for the show. While filming an episode in the Sierra Nevada mountains, Grills enjoyed the nightly hospitality of the Pines Resort at Bass Lake, a modern lodge resort offering 2 on-site restaurants, a spa, and other amenities. During another episode, Grills was supposedly stranded on a desert island that turned out to actually be a Hawaiian archipelago, where he again spent his nights in a local hotel.
Sometimes you gotta know.
Yeah, this is some bullshit. I didn't know all this, but I'm just saying. Okay.
And then like it gets a little bit worse coming down the line, because it's like, okay, maybe you're showing people that like, all right, I maybe I didn't actually spend time out in the wilderness, but you're not actively telling people to do wrong things that could get them hurt or killed in the wilderness. But he is.
Oh, I definitely.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy.
You're right. Sometimes you gotta know when to turn back.
On many occasions, Grills has presented dubious survival techniques that aren't actually usable in real life. While filming one episode in a sweltering locale, Grills claimed that you could squeeze and drink water out of elephant dung. Survivor Man star and bushcraft instructor Les Stroud, who has filmed several episodes of his show among elephants, went on record during a Reddit AMA to debunk that technique. He wrote, "It is not possible to squeeze drinkable water out of elephant dung. Well, it is when your cameraman has soaked it with bottled water." In a real survival situation, many of the techniques that Grills casually illustrated on Man vs. Wild could actually endanger people. And we're not even going to get into the urine drinking incidents. The worst is even simpler than that. The 2 dangerous moves that Grills most frequently demonstrated on his show involved hurrying to cross through dangerous terrain and getting himself wet when he doesn't have to. For those familiar with the show, you know Grills hardly ever walked anywhere, particularly when he was on a mountain. Instead, he ran, jumped, leaped, and swung his way down cliffs, mountainsides, and crevasses. That may work.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, that's on top of being bad for fucking hunting elk. It's bad because like if you trip and fall.
That's bad in general.
If you trip and fall and hurt yourself, then that's a problem.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing. Is you always want to have a second set of clothes. Always have a second direct set of clothes.
Oh yeah, no,
for sure.
One thing I was actually going to ask, like how wet is the terrain when you're going through? And is there anything that keeps your like? Well, I mean, when I had my super awesome fucking like hiking backpack, which was like this backpack my dad got me, that was like, it had this like rain flap thing, which you were supposed to wrap around it to protect it from water.
Right. Fly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm wondering like, what are the ways that you kind of like how do you keep your second set of clothes dry?
Waterproof bags in the bag.
Just waterproof bags in the bag.
And a fly. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely pack everything in waterproof. There's a layering system. But yeah, I put waterproof bags in my bag.
Is the layering system like? Do you teach that? Like, or is that something that's like? Because I feel like the layering system is like that you have is something that was ingrained with you when you were like young.
In the military.
Right.
In the military.
Oh,
yeah, I built on it in the military.
And so is that something that you have to like start people with from scratch when you're training them? The layering system?
Yeah, well, it's just like you want to put like your stuff on the bottom, but minus your. I just have to show you, but yeah, I'm
I bet it's a whole thing.
Person. So like your clothes are gonna clothes you're gonna use the least are gonna be on the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to have the most weight in the middle. So like your food's gonna kind of be in the middle. Your food and your water is gonna float in the middle, and then you're gonna have like your need right now clothes, right? So like your wet weather gear is gonna sit on top.
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna have your stove and all your other stuff in there.
Okay.
In the middle, like your stove, your food, all that stuff's gonna sit in the center. You want to have that center between your shoulder blades in your pack. So you take all your soft stuff and put it in the bottom, so it takes up that dead space. Because you don't want to have a lead weight in the bottom of your bag, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
it's
Kind of want it to be sitting in the center so that you can, I mean, I guess sort of move around a little bit more freely if you're
Right.
more balanced properly. But let me ask you this: would you go swimming in full clothing?
no.
Huh? Because I don't know. I saw some
Work
shit
for a
on
video
here.
game hero, but in a true survival situation,
don't.
any injury could
You don't need your underwear, bro, to live.
Oh no!
Why would I get my clothes wet?
Watch what Bear Grylls does. watch what he tells people to do, I should say.
drastically decrease your chances of making it out alive. A simple broken ankle, miles from civilization, could be a death sentence. The smart move is to take your time finding the safest route. It may take longer, but it'll help keep you alive if you're really in the wild on your own. Grills also seems to make a point of getting wet at every opportunity. He's rappelled with vines down waterfalls, gone for swims across frigid Arctic waters, and gone down river rapids on a pile of plastic tarp and branches he called a raft. Beyond the very real danger of drowning in such situations, or injuring yourself in a slip or fall, getting wet in the wild is one of the worst things you can do. Hypothermia occurs when the body's core temperature drops 3 degrees or more from normal, and it can set in extremely quickly, especially when you're wet. On numerous occasions, former crew members have alleged that entire scenes on Man vs. Wild were faked for the viewing audience. In one example, a wild Mustang that Grills attempted to catch and ride in one episode was really a tame animal rented from a local trekking lodge. In another episode, Grills leaped over a chasm of flowing
That's one of
lava,
the things
which
that-
was
that's one of the
actually an
things I don't
illusion.
Try and do is replicate.
That's one of the things you don't want to try to do. I missed that. I'm sorry.
No, I don't. That's one of the things I don't do is replicate. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why I don't have 1 billion followers on Instagram because I don't replicate shit. I don't recreate
Shots
situations.
or things like that.
Yeah, because that's one of the things in any industry, kind of like this industry, this survival industry. You have to make it interesting for people. It's all about glitz and glam, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Just speak truths and freaking don't doll it up. They're gonna be like, okay, this fucking guy is boring.
well, yeah, but that's usually why guys who do that, there are other guys who are 100% about glitz and glam. They don't get along with each other, but the glitz and glam sort of like, it's sort of like with David Goggins, because I know you read the book. What he's kind of doing, right? He's not a motherfucker that's about like, he doesn't follow anybody on Instagram, right? But there were other people that were around him that were like, okay, he doesn't really know how to capitalize on the message that he's doing. We do. So let's, capitalize on it. Like, so maybe that is an idea to get a dude that's like a cameraman
I feel
that
like
you
that's
can
a statement.
come out with you.
That's definitely a statement. I don't follow anyone. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a fucking statement.
Oh, it is.
I respect the fuck out of that man, but that man hasn't made a statement with not following anybody on Instagram. I know for a fact he respects men on Instagram.
But he doesn't follow them for a reason.
Right.
It's a point.
It's a what is that called? Come on, tell me what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking too. I know what you're saying.
It's a statement. It's not. He intentionally doesn't follow anybody on Instagram, even though he respects men.
I don't want to say protest because it's not like he's protesting anything, but he's like going against.
He's a leader. He's not a follower.
Yeah, he's going against. There's a word for it. There's a word for it. I know what you're thinking of. I can't think of it either. I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah.
But yeah, like let's not bring up David Goggins when we're talking about some dude that's a total sham. Somebody that's basically the exact opposite. Well, the exact opposite in terms of. Well, you know what? I'm not going to take away from the stuff that he's done. But I will say that the show is fake as hell.
Right.
Like I'm not.
I mean, yeah.
Because he's not a fake. He was actually in the special forces and he actually climbed Everest and all this stuff. But
Well, yeah, but I stuck up for him at the beginning, but now I'm seeing this as
but you can't
spreading false
squeeze water out of elephant shit. I thought that.
Yeah.
I think the best part about that was that he had to actually like taste elephant shit. Like he drank elephant shit. Like, even if
Yeah,
that's not
why
a
would
real technique, that's like, I bet that was a
it's probably
producer.
fake shit too.
I bet that was a producer. I bet a producer was like, "You think he'll do it? You can't fuck. He won't fucking do that shit. We paid this man almost $1 million a year. He won't do that." Hey, we were thinking it'd be a good idea if you like took the elephant dung and like wrang water out of it. Like, well, there's not water in elephant dung. He just has a bottle in front of him. He just takes out the bottle and then he's like, ah, fuck. They're like, yeah, bro, you want to get famous? Do it. I'll get your dabs after this, Schmidt dog. But yeah, let's get back to a total sham. So yeah, he's pretending like he's jumping over lava. Mind you, you can't even get close enough to lava because I think you can't get within a certain like feet of lava. Because catch on fire, right? Like it's not you're not literally gonna melt. Like your clothes are gonna fucking start catching on fire because the heat is so fucking strong. But he's gonna jump over it.
Created by hot coals, lighter fluid, and a smoke machine. In another episode, Grills is shown constructing a bamboo raft. It was later revealed that a hired expert and the show's crew actually built the raft for Grills before dismantling it so he could be shown reassembling it on camera. After controversy emerged in 2008 over the show's less than honest presentation, Grills and Discovery both apologized for the fakery deployed on the show. Grills told the BBC, "If people felt misled on how the first series was represented, I'm really sorry for that." The Discovery Channel only went so far as to admit that small, isolated elements of the show were fabricated, promising viewers that future seasons would be more transparent. To fulfill that promise, a disclaimer was added at the beginning of each episode to acknowledge the occasional use of support crews or fabricated situations. But as much as they tried to diminish it, the message is still the same. You just shouldn't trust what you see on this show.
Yep. I just thought that was very interesting. So, you get situations like that, but I guess it's hard to fake stuff on real life versus TV, right?
Right.
Because if you're in the wilderness and you're like that, then you're pretty much gonna get dead, and not in a slow way.
If you don't have a support crew running around you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and I'm even as much experience as I have I've had experience, in New Mexico and here. Like, I didn't just jump into the Washington. Do you know that Washington actually has the most missing person cases in all of the United States?
Yeah, missing 411. We actually that is something that I'm looking into getting into. But there's a book called Missing 411, which is people going missing, and like a lot of them are in the woods. And
right. Yeah, you got to be really fucking careful, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something I just like, oh yeah, dude, just fucking go do it. Experience life. No, dude, take your fucking time, be patient, dabble, right? Dabble. Like, don't chunk. Like I said, we don't go 20 miles. You don't go deep into the woods by yourself, not without anything on your body.
Yeah, nothing prepared. Nobody.
Why do you
knows
think all
where
these
you
horror
are.
movies are stupid bitches running through the woods and like getting lost and like dying?
Oh yeah,
because they have no fucking idea where they're going.
But even like without horror movies, like if you look at certain like circumstances, like if you look at people who end up either missing or dead and they end up finding the bodies, it's like, well, what did they do? Well, they went out on their normal hike without telling anybody where they went, or without a GPS, because they know the area so well. They just thought that they were, and they end up dying. And you know what? I think that's a perfect sort of transition into our next video.
And you're not staying on trails hunting.
Oh no,
right?
No,
you're definitely breaking brush, and that's the scare. Like, even now, I'm super conscious of still. Like, I've not been here 30 years. I've only been here half a decade. I still, dude, it could easily.
You can get lost.
Right.
It's like,
and it's thick shit, dude. It's not like. This is not open country. It's very, very thick, dense country here.
No.
You could literally. I've literally heard elk. Like, they were standing next to me, and I could not see them. Like, they were probably 25 yards from me, and I could not see them. It's so thick.
Because the bush is that thick. And so
yeah.
when you do that, it's you have to sort of find a way, because you can't cut through the fucking brush. They're going to hear you and run away. It's like you kind of have to, like, sneak around.
Well, you got to play it off. You got to act like an elk. You play like that's when your calls come into play.
Oh.
And you just kind of position yourself in a position. Well, they're literally going to come right at you because they know their ears are very good. So they know, like elk. A lot of people are quiet, like to try and think like the hell's that guy's name? Elmer Fudd, where he's
Yeah.
creeping through the woods.
Yeah.
You don't do that with elk. Elk are giant animals. You're literally walking through the woods making elk sounds, and you're walking like a hunter. You kick shit. You stomp, like they kick rocks, sticks. They break shit. They are loud.
So that wouldn't get them to run. Just you breaking something, you walking through, that wouldn't get them
Right?
to
If
run.
you play it off, yeah. If you're acting like an elk and you break something, it's not going to matter because they think you're an elk. They might actually come because they think you're legit. Versus if you're creeping around, breathing heavy, like trying to be all sneaky.
Yeah, they hear you breathing and they fucking take off. But instead,
Right,
you
'cause we
walk
sneak
normally and fucking.
Like,
what's an elk
if the
call?
wind's right, they can smell us, right? So you always want to have the wind in your face. So, but if they're so if they can't smell you, they'll think you might be an elk.
So what's like an elk call? Is it like a whistle that you blow into?
It's like a mew. They call it a mew and a bugle. So there's like a cow.
Mm.
So a lot of people think, do you want to like? There's a bugle, right? And there's different styles of bugle. I'm not going to go into the details of that because it's just not something that's too advanced right now. But
yeah,
there's like a fight bugle. There's like a hey, where are you bugle?
Mm.
Like a location bugle. There's a lip ball bugle, which is like an aggressive, I'm pissed off, let's fight kind of bugle. And then there's like grunts, and there's mews, which is a cow mew, right? And there's a calf call.
And so each one of those are a different fucking whistle?
Yeah, different pitch and different sound. You can use the same call.
Oh, shit. So it's like you run through with like 5-10 different whistles for the same animal?
Right. Right. So
I didn't know that. I always thought it was one kind of whistle, and you kind of like used it a different way, or you kind of put your hand around it and sort of wiggled your hand around, and it made a different noise.
No, it's all tongue pressure.
Okay.
And a bugle tube. And so I kind of lost track of slots. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Something else. But so yeah, so you kind of play it off. So a lot of people think that they want to fight, right? So they bugle a lot. They get aggressive. They want to fight, right? And it takes a certain situation. If they're angry and they're bugling, and they're not angry. If they're wound up and they're bugling, and they're being aggressive and there's a lot of fighting in the area, then you might want to bugle, like with an aggressive bugle, like a lip ball bugle, right? But if they're not fighting and it's early season, you kind of want to just cow call, right? Because if a girl's like, "Hey, Herbal, come over here, hang out, bro," you can be like, "Hey, what's up, honey?" Versus like,
if you want to fight,
like dude's like, "Hey, motherfucker, that's my bitch." You know what I mean? Like
it's different. Yeah.
Not.
I got you.
If a dude's like, "Hey, these are my women, come over here and fucking let's go." Like, I want your women. Let's fight. If you have say you have a herd of cows, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a bull, and you're over there just chilling with your ladies, trying to do the breeding thing, and then some other dude's like, "Hey, I want your cows, motherfucker. Come over here and let's fight, and see who wins, and then whoever wins gets the cows." I already got my cows, dude. Why would I want to come hang out with you?
Okay, that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Versus, hey, I'm a cow over here by myself.
Oh, I can get another hoe.
Hang out, baby.
Yeah, I can get another chick.
Hoe.
Exactly. And then he'll go over there and get fucking, it's fine.
Get caught up in them hormones. He's like, ooh,
boom,
that punani. I'm gonna come up there and find it.
Do you guys use like musk, like
there's cow
breeding
urine
scents and shit?
We can use it's called estrus, cow and estrus. It's can use that.
Do you put it on? Do you just spray it in the air? Or do you put it on something, or do you put it on you, or?
I put it on my shoes.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if you were supposed to put it on you or just have like elk humping you.
No.
That'd be an interesting.
God forbid that would go out like that.
But I mean, speaking of going out, I don't know if that's a good way to do this transition, but. Oh no, here's a better way. We were talking about surviving in the forest before, or in the wilderness in general, and it is something that is very much a pass or fail. Well, it's a pass or die kind of scenario, and unfortunately,
Failing you come back from.
Yeah, it's not, and unfortunately, we're gonna go into somebody who did not come back from their story, Christopher McCandles. Oh goddamn, I keep clicking the thing instead of this.
We've talked about this a lot already tonight, is you got to go in easy, man. Especially, we're soft, dude. We're not
Yeah.
our grandparents.
This
You
is
know?
only like a 3-minute video. They get into a little bit, or if so, Christopher McCandless is kind of a folk hero for some. So there was like a movie about him, and there's been all kinds of books and stuff like that. He started off as like this rich kid, really smart, rich. He was really smart, as in he was business smart, right? He started a couple businesses that really took off and were successful. When he was really young. And again, he had like a lot. His family was very well off, so it's like he had money to start them off. But he sort of ended up detesting wealth and that kind of thing, and wanted to get into more of a sort of like poverty. He wanted to live as a drifter, basically, and that's what he did. He went and just was drifting all around America, and in fact, he hitchhiked his way to Alaska. Like that's how he got to Alaska, was from hitchhiking from like California over the course of years. He didn't go by his actual name, Christopher McCandless, because again, his parents were very well off, and they would literally find him and then bring him back. So he went by Alexander Supertramp, the name of his like favorite band. And I think the guy had some very interesting things about himself, or interesting like concepts. But the idea of just going into the wilderness with nothing. And like I remember when I first heard about them, I've heard about him. I was at this. I mentioned before this. It's a Student Conservation Association is what it was called, the SCA, or is called. And they take kids, they take them out to trails, and you get service hours. That's really why I did it, because I wanted service hours. But I ended up liking nature. Like Mother Nature's awesome. It's like, I want to go out and get super high in the fucking woods and just chill. But I want to be able to come back from that, and I want to also be able to do that in a way where, if you don't respect Mother Nature, she won't respect you either. And even if you do respect her, she might not respect your ass either and fucking put you down. But
She has no respect. She
yeah,
doesn't care. Shows you nothing.
It's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't do this. I completely understand where you're coming from, but the idea of just going into fucking Alaska. With 400 bullets in a 22 rifle, and it wasn't a moose that he killed either. It was caribou. It was. There's another like smaller animal. I don't think it was an elk, but there's another smaller animal that they were like. It probably wasn't a moose. It was probably this. He thought it was a moose because he didn't know any better. But also, we were talking about how you can't he didn't know how to smoke the meat or take care of if you're in a situation like that and you kill a moose. How can you smoke a whole fucking moose in
You
the
don't.
woods?
You'd have to break it down into smaller pieces.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, obviously, but where do you find the space? Like, how do you create like a smoker out of fucking rocks? Like, I don't know.
Dude, I'll be honest, that's out of my spec.
Yeah,
I've done it in I broke down animals to butcher. Like my mom was a butcher, so we all had kind of jobs growing up, right? My mom cut up meat and made it into the pretty freaking segments of meat that everybody sees in the grocery store.
Yeah, except instead of steak, it's elk steak, right?
Right. It's still steak.
Yeah, it looks the same.
And I've literally seen people who just butcher their own meat, and it looks like hell. It's a matter of just cutting the meat up. It's knowing the sections, and that's something I like looking at.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I'm not an expert either. My mom's amazing at the shit, but I'm still kind of a novice.
The best I can get it is taking apart a dead chicken, and that's the closest I think anybody can understand to that. It's when you have a whole chicken, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna cut this into pieces, and then you're like, this does not look like the drumstick that I get in the grocery store. What happened? And it's like, oh, it's because your knife isn't sharp enough. You didn't go around the thing. You didn't do this. You didn't do that, and so now your chicken leg looks like shit. And I guess it's the same thing with meat.
Right, but as far as that goes, if he had just had you could smoke meat. He could have kept it cold. He had a giant river right there the whole time, right? He walked to the river. He could have kept his meat the way we were talking.
Oh yeah, but he doesn't even. There was no probably even thought of it, Thought of it like that. So, but you're saying he could have put it in a water. Well, I mean, he didn't have a waterproof bag though. But he's in Alaska with no waterproof bags. No.
That water was probably freezing. It probably would have froze the meat.
Oh, so
just putting the meat in the water. It would have been saturated with water, saturated with meat, but at least it would be meat.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, the meat's saturated with water. No, you're still gonna get full.
Right.
All right,
You
let's
could, I don't know. Yeah.
let's see how this ends. Well,
I
let's see
mean, a
the tragic
Walmart
end.
bag in the freaking water. I mean,
It
if it's
doesn't
cold
matter.
enough, you submerge it and it doesn't get, like, if you just have the meat in the bottom of the bag, you could submerge the bag just enough to get the freaking meat frozen.
Mm.
Right? You could stand there. I mean, it's freaking probably 30 degrees or negative even.
But if you need
No,
to
I don't know what
survive,
part of a life. Right. But you could definitely freeze the meat, and that would keep it cold for a while.
yeah, no, but what I don't. Well, let's see if the video gets to it. But there was a couple of things that could have saved this. What was that?
You have like a separation anxiety with nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't. You have. Imagine being alone with yourself.
Yeah.
With no other choice. Like you have mental. The first couple days you're in the woods by yourself, it's all mental, dude. Your mind is just going a bazillion miles an hour. You can't leave shit undone at home. If you leave to the woods with shit, like if you had an argument with somebody, or if you have like bad feelings about somebody before you leave, if you go to the woods, you're gonna fucking think about it. That's all you'll think about. You'll literally like meditate on it. It's just the way nature is.
Mm. Really?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, dude. It's deep.
That could have been, he had a lot of stuff to meditate on. I'll say that. Let's here. We got like 20 seconds left in this. Into it. But there was a couple of things. One, the potato seeds, which was the potato seeds, which could have been potato seeds, but they also could have been another kind of seed, which was like, I've heard theories that it could have been cherry seeds or something, which are actually poisonous if eaten in a large quantity. But there was a trolley that was, so he tried to cross the river once to survive, or to get through, right? The river that he crossed initially rose to the point that he could not cross it again. So in order to try to get across, he tried to get across again, fell into the water and almost drowned and almost froze to death after he drowned. So that sort of shied him away from trying to go through the river again. But there was a hand-operated trolley that was designed to get you across the river during high season. And it was about a half a mile from where he actually attempted to cross. And what basically got him killed, it was one thing in many different ways. Was knowledge, information, right? He didn't know the area that he was going into, right? He didn't know a lot about survival, right? He thought he knew a lot about survival, but he didn't. And that is sort of how he died. Which is,
that goes
into
where we were talking. Go ahead.
No, I was saying it's unfortunate, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Just like, go ahead.
So, Jim, like we were talking before, you don't just go into the woods. Like, there's tons of work that goes into the woods. You either go into the woods with somebody who knows the area, or you know the area yourself. So you have months of scouting, e-scouting. You have satellite imagery now, right? So there's apps you can download and all these things to help you understand the area that you're going into. So you know landmarks, you know where things are. Then you're walking through the woods, and then you're obviously going to want to pattern. If you're patterning the animals, and you already have the animals patterned in the area, based on all this research and all this time you spent looking into the area, you should know the area pretty well. You still want to be prepared. You still want to have that map and compass, like I said, that protractor and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You have backup plans.
Right.
You want to be safe. You don't want to be wild. You want to be cautious. But, yeah, I feel like that was a horrible idea in all respects. I would never encourage anyone to go into the woods just nonchalantly. Hey, I'm going to go fucking whatever. I'm not a survivalist. I'm a hunter.
And of all the woods to go into, Alaska's not. That's almost like, okay, yeah, I want to get into boxing. You know, I haven't really boxed before. Have you heard of Mike Tyson? I don't know. Maybe, you know, I'm thinking about having him as my first boxing match. It's like,
I know guys who've been hunting elk for 35 years, and they're like my mentors. And they went to Alaska, and they're like, fuck that place.
Yeah,
it's so hard. It's so fucking rough. Like they said, they've in 30 plus years of hunting, they've never had such a harsh environment to deal with.
And what is it? Is it the cold? Is it the actual animals that are there? Is it like, what is it?
Dude, so like I guess the tundra has shitloads of bugs in it, believe it or not. Like what? That's like flying, like eating, chew you up bugs, like nibble your ass, like
mosquitoes and fucking
mosquitoes and like flying fucking ants that bite you, or not ants, but
horseflies.
flies. Yeah, horse flies that bite your ass and all kinds of shit. So, yeah, they said the bugs were awful, and then like just the overall terrain was awful, just flat and rugged, and yeah, I don't know the whole details. I got to get more details. I'll if we do a round 2, I'll freaking let you know.
No, it's gonna be a round 2
I'll,
for sure.
I'll hit them up.
But yeah, no, it was like I knew the Christopher McCandless story, and you know I've seen some videos that have gone way more way more deep into that. But anytime I talk to a wilderness guy, I ask if he knows if he's heard of like Christopher McCandless, and if he's like gotten and his take on the whole situation. Because like a lot of guys, especially the hardcore wilderness guys, are like, yeah, that dude was an idiot, straight asking for death, right? And I mean, he was ignorant. He was ignorant, but I don't want to call him an idiot, right? One, because I don't like talking negative about the dead, but two, everybody's had that thought, right? Everybody's had that, like, fuck, I want to lose weight. Let me go fucking just run a mile every day and then only eat 1,100 calories, and that'll get it done. It's just that, like, most of those people, after they see that it's a bad idea, they either stop completely or they like back up, reassess, and try to come at it a different way, which is, that's what you want to do. But a lot of the times people quit. But this guy was a guy that didn't. Oh yeah, no, there is no second chance. There's barely a first chance, right? Right. There are certain circumstances where if you do shit perfectly, you're still gonna die. Like that's just because you fucking ended up on the wrong place at the wrong time, in the fucking woods. And so that's what happens.
And that's why I was saying about, like, talking to people who know, like, the game wardens, like I was talking earlier. Hey, they know the area really well. They patrol that area.
Yeah, they're the ones that have to get the dead bodies out. They're the ones that have to go look for the people that go missing,
Right.
Well, I mean, the second one more than the first one, but...
Yeah, what's the rescue team do? Search and rescue and all that. But yeah, those are people use your resources that we have now to further your knowledge. Like, there is no reason you shouldn't be a student of the game, especially if you're thinking about going into the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
You should know, like, I don't go into the wilderness and eat random shit off the floor of the forest floor and shit. I don't do that. I bring ration food. I plan to have lots of water. If I have too much water, I pour it in the river. It doesn't.
My camera died.
It's good.
Oh, you're good. That's how you know it's a good interview, because we fucking killed the battery on my camera.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about planning ahead and caching water. Like, I don't want to be thirsty. I don't want to be hungry. I don't want to be too far. Like, you have a perimeter. You stay in that perimeter. Like, that's what I do. Like, I have a perimeter that I stay in. And if I change the perimeter, then I tell people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I already have a pretty good idea of where I'm going before I ever go.
And so you would just know that before you go in.
Right, and you tell people. Or you can even call law enforcement and tell them. And be like, hey, look, I'm in this area. I'm hunting in here. I don't have anybody else to talk to. If I go missing, or if I don't call back at the end of the day, like anybody. Like, call the Forest Service. You can call Game and Fish. There's resources you can reach out to. I'm trying to remember, there's a resource, and I can't remember it now. But you can reach out to them and tell them, hey, I'm a lone hiker, and I'm in this area. And if I don't call back or recontact, then...
That's actually... I didn't know you could do that. I would have never thought, if I'm like, nobody gives a fuck. Should I...
No.
I guess I can tell the cops.
It's actually local search and rescue. I'm just now starting into that area of my business. But, yeah, it might be search and rescue. Your local search and rescue. You can call them and be like, hey, I'm in this area. And then they'll be like, okay, noted. Thank you. Give me a ring whenever you get back.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, man. That was
Absolutely.
that was a lot. I mean, man, we've been going for like almost 2 hours. Oh yeah, no,
there's so much. I feel like we touched the surface.
We did, and that's sort of what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to skim across. I mean, we still didn't get into like the kind of people that you look up to, the kind of wilderness guys, that kind of stuff. But it's already 11, and I don't want to keep you up too late with this.
You're
But
good.
dude,
And
thanks
I'm
so
trying
much.
to the hardest part for me is I'm trying not to make it too in depth. Like I don't want to make it extremely detailed
Yeah.
because like the packing list. If I got in a packing list, that could be a whole episode by itself.
Oh yeah, you can get people like, no, trust me, there's a whole facet to this stuff, and I am interested. Like honestly, that's one of the reasons why is because I myself I'm like I am one of those guys that's like in the city that's like, fuck, how do I become Mountain Man Marco, right? How do I become the guy that can go out there and like live, right? And it's like,
Dude, just practice skills that you can practice in town right now.
yeah,
Like
we'll get into
light
it,
a
man.
fire.
I do want to possibly use some of your services, homie, in the future. We'll get into it,
Sounds
but
good. Yeah.
I am down. I'm always down to get in shape, and I do want to get more into. I'm a fan of Mother Nature. I'm a fan of like going out and seeing what all that's about. But thanks for tuning in, man. Or thanks for joining us. Thank you to the audience for tuning in. If they want to find you, Alces, where can they find you at? If you want to spam your socials, here I can post them in the chat.
Yeah, just do SO. It's Alcius, and they can reach out to me, and I'll drop my Insta and all that.
Hell yeah. Do you want to end with anything? Do you have any last words that you want to leave to the viewers at, I presume, home or somebody else's home?
Just I hope this inspired you to do something you enjoy. I love this lifestyle and try to be an ambassador to it as best as I can. Just be safe and make sure that you're knowledgeable about what you're doing before you go off in the woods by yourself. Yeah, and I'm planning on doing archery lessons on Twitch. So.
Dude, I would love to tune in for that. I want to see you like fucking hit the apple off of the top of like a mannequin's head or something. That'd be awesome. Put other streamers' faces over the archery target and be like shooting an arrow over PewDiePie's head. And then just like do that.
Imagine like smacking him in the forehead, be like, "Oh god, this guy!"
Oh shit!
Take PewDiePie out like the threat.
Make it a fucking just make it a clickbait, just like shooting an apple over PewDiePie. Tag him in it, see what happens. He might be actually down. But yeah, man, thanks for tuning in. It's been fun, everybody.